which is good because I don't know what I'm doing.
We need a wee bit of extra time today. Do you know? See me and your best friends today.
Say what?
Me and your best friends today.
Yeah, we are trying to figure out what's going to happen next, which is fine.
We'll just go with the flow.
Everything is perfect, by the way. It's just, we'll see.
We'll see.
All right then, Lee, see you tomorrow morning. It is 9:05. Time for the latest news, and it's good morning to Donald Kavanagh.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and Tánaiste Micheál Martin en route to Belfast this morning for a series of meetings. Leo Varadkar meeting the party leaders, including today Mary Lou McDonald of Sinn Féin, whereas the Tánaiste will be meeting with the Northern Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. A replacement part for the Ardsbeg water treatment plant could take 200 working days to be sourced and installed. The Gortahork-Falcara area has been plagued with major problems since a lightning strike on December 21st. There have been interim repairs, but the full replacement part for the system will take 200 days to arrive, we've been told this week. Councillor Michael McClaverty says that's unacceptable. He's repeated his call for an emergency meeting with Irish Water.
There's one part in particular, 200 working days they've been told to expect up until they get to retrieve this part. Something to do with the computer system and a component of some nature on the computer end of it. So as a result now, things are not working there properly now because this part is missing. Alterations have been made to keep things going. Hopefully the alterations will stand, albeit a stress factor have been altered. But setting alongside that 2M as well as the 200 days, this is totally unacceptable. Irish Water need to, as we asked for yesterday, need to come to the table, need to meet us, and need to step up to the plate and meet us.
Almost 2,200 needs assessments for Irish children with disabilities are at least 3 months overdue. In total, over 3,500 were late at the end of September. According to HSC figures, they're supposed to be legally finished within 6 months to allow children get care for autism and other issues. Donegal GP Kieran O'Farry says such delays are unacceptable and they impact on the quality of care.
It is a big problem because a lot of these are young children and we're trying to get to a diagnosis. Without a diagnosis, they can't access the care that they need. And we know that from the evidence, early assessment and early intervention can improve outcomes. So any delay in that assessment can lead to poorer outcomes for children, unfortunately.
There are further calls for the establishment of an Irish passport office north of the border after it emerged this week that the passport office in Dublin has suspended posting passports to Ireland, Northern Ireland and Great Britain. It's done so because of ongoing Royal Mail strikes. Orla Begley, the West Tyrone MP, says with 128,000 applications for Irish passports from the north last year, 50,000 of them first-time applications, it's vital that the Irish government now has a presence north of the border.
The last couple of days, we've heard that the Passport Office have suspended posting passports to the 6 counties as a respect of the Royal Mail strikes. And we once again say that this highlights the need for a passport office here. There has been difficulties in the past in respect of people in the north having to travel to Dublin in order to collect their passports. So we feel that if there was a passport office in the north, it would allow that more accessibility in order for people to resolve those issues, and it's most definitely needed given the volume of applications that are being made.
Westerly winds very strong and gusty, a mix of sunny spells and showers, frequent with a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail, top temperature 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. The showers continuing tonight with lowest temperatures overnight 3 to 5 degrees Celsius. Again, more fresh to strong winds. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Like to eat well and get healthy size savings? Then you'll really like our Aldi Savers offers with up to 43% off, including Coco Loco coconut oil, save 43%, now only $1.99. Cavanagh's instant oat sachets 10 pack, save 34%, now only 99 cents. Ballymore Crust Thins wholemeal loaf, save 26%, now only $1.25. And specially selected fresh mushroom soup, save 15%, now only $1.69. I don't like it, I love it. Aldi, every day amazing.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to Noon Show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello and a very good morning to you. It's 5 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 12th of January. I do hope you're very well, and I hope you are with us for the next 3 hours. Loads coming up in the programme as always. Some interesting conversation. 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts to that number, 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000, 074 91 25,000. Comments coming to us at the email address comments@highlandradio.com. And if you want to watch the show, hop onto our website, click the watch live, or go to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, or across our Facebook pages. Effectively, you can't escape us. We are everywhere and we want you involved. Right, now let's kick off with a look at the newspapers, and there are quite a few of them because it's Thursday. Let's start with the Tyrconnell Tribune. Mystery over Ramelton vandalism. Gardaí are investigating a bizarre incident of criminal damage in Ramelton where a precious tree was destroyed and a nearby shrub was cut down in a front garden of a private residence. The incident happened on a property at St Mary's Terrace last Thursday evening in an area of high visibility, and Gardaí at Milford are appealing for help in solving the attack. Local resident Ulrich Kuhlmann returned home to find that an intruder had entered her garden and deliberately cut the branches of a special species of plant that had grown to over 10 feet and had been there before Mrs. Kuhlmann moved to the property in 2006. Another bush was also destroyed. Let's crack on to the Donegal News now, and their front page this morning. Water fiasco. A Falcara restaurant owner has revealed how he has had to close 4 times in as many weeks because of water outages. And we've spoken to this person in the past, so this is the most recent incarnation of his water problems. Business owners in the area say they are at their wits' end with the constant supply disruption, which is costing them untold amounts in lost revenue. Irish Water has claimed that a lightning strike on its treatment plant 3 days before Christmas was to blame for at least one outage. But local traders say the problems have been ongoing for years and continue to hamper the day-to-day running of their operation. And I believe that is the same system, which we're being told it's going to take 200 working days before a part is found to leave it back to the state it was before that strike. Let's go on now to the Donegal Democrat. Uranium fears at wind farm development. There are fears that any excavation work for a proposed 19 turbine industrial scale wind farm in West Donegal might not only trigger more landslides but could activate uranium deposits scattered throughout the area. Danish company Ørsted and a Quilcha ESB renewable energy joint venture called Future Energy Ireland are exploring the potential to develop the proposed wind farm near the Clogher Cullion and Clogher Core areas near the Guabara estuary. Locals, including the Guabara Conservation Group, feel this is a totally inappropriate location for the multi-million euro project and feel special areas of conservation areas of geological interest and some of the county's most scenic areas are also under threat there. Let's go on to the Irish Independent now, and patients are waiting 24 hours for a bed in 17 hospitals, and unfortunately, needless to say, Letterkenny University Hospital is one of those. Patients are waiting 24 hours for a bed in 17 hospitals yesterday as the winter surge in emergency care continued to take its toll. The HSE's own 8 a.m. trolley count of patients in emergency departments, excluding those on trolleys in wards, showed 70 patients across the country had spent 24 hours or more waiting for a bed. The highest number facing this delay was in St Vincent's Hospital in Dublin with 12 patients, followed by 9 in Cork University Hospital, 8 in Dublin's Mater Hospital and Letterkenny University Hospital, and 7 in St Luke's Hospital. 5 patients were on trolleys for more than 24 hours in Naas General Hospital and in Sligo, with 3 in Mercy Hospital, Cork and Tala Hospital. So my apologies, I did state that Letterkenny was one of the hospitals with a patient waiting over 24 hours. It was in fact Sligo that I was looking at, so my apologies there. Needless to say, obviously there is a trolley wait, but not as extensive as I first indicated there. Right, okay, on to the Irish Independent now. And, it's actually the Irish Times this morning. Varadkar warns there may not be room for refugees. There are growing fears in government that accommodation options are running out as the number of Ukrainian arrivals is expected to increase, and hotels will seek to take back rooms currently occupied by refugees for the tourist season. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar warned yesterday that the government was not in a position to guarantee accommodation to everyone who arrives in the country. That's just the reality of the situation, he said. We will do the best that we can for people, provide them with shelter as best we can, provide children with education, Mr Varadkar said at a post-cabinet press conference at Flatley House in Dublin. But what I can't do, he went on to say, is guarantee that they will be able to find accommodation for everyone who might arrive in the country, whether it's from Ukraine or elsewhere. Ministers and senior officials fear a squeeze on accommodation in March and April as hotels begin to seek the return of their rooms following what's expected to be a resurgence in numbers arriving over the coming months. There was a fall-off in refugees' numbers arriving over the Christmas period, but this is expected to increase in the new year. And the reality is unfortunately that all signs are pointing towards an increased Russian offensive in spring, and that means more people will be displaced and will move to all different parts of Europe, and that includes, of course, Ireland. Harris says hate mob travelling across country. This is the Irish Daily Mirror. Simon Harris has said he believes there are people travelling from one part of the country to the next to attend demos outside hotels providing accommodation or shelter to asylum seekers. There have been a number of rallies in recent weeks, including several days of protests at a Travelodge hotel in Ballymun, Dublin. Videos circulated online showed people chanting "Get them out" at the hotel that is accommodating 221 asylum seekers, including 9 children. The demonstrations have widely been condemned by politicians, including Taoiseach Leo Varadkar and Housing Minister Dara O'Brien. Minister Harris said, we do very carefully plan these protests. Minister Harris has said, it makes no sense at all, actually. It's completely misprinted here. I think what it is saying is we don't mind protests, but simply just not there. But unfortunately, the way it's been quoted in the paper, the sentence itself doesn't make any sense. Right? Any views on that? 08660 25,000. Right, on to the Irish Daily Mail now. And hundreds of people are expected to gather in Tullamore today to mark the first anniversary of the killing of Aisling Murphy. The 23-year-old primary school teacher was killed while jogging along the bank of the Grand Canal in the County Offaly town on January 12th last year. The young woman's family and friends will be among those attending St. Bridget's Church in Mount Bolus, just outside Tullamore, at 7 p.m. today. Their colleagues at Durrow National School, along with people involved in local music groups, will also be at the Mass. Prior to the Mass, a vigil will take place at 5 p.m. today in Kilkenny for Aisling and other women who've been killed across the country. And unfortunately, maybe people would have thought that awful tragedy would have been a turning point, but unfortunately that is not the case. And very recently we had another woman who was the victim of a violent crime and very sadly also passed away. Right, okay, it's actually really quite difficult to believe that that's a year ago, but it is. On to now the Irish Daily Star. And Mary Lou slams Brit petulance is the headline on this story. And we can read on to find out more about it now. Sinn Féin party leader Mary Lou McDonald has been excluded from talks with British Foreign Secretary James Cleverly on the Northern Ireland Protocol. Roundtable talks had been expected to take place in Belfast yesterday, including the Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. Sinn Féin party spokesperson said the progress made on the protocol this week is welcome and must now inject fresh momentum into talks between the EU and British government to reach a solution. Sinn Féin was hoping to build on that progress at today's meeting with the British Secretary of State and Foreign Secretary. However, in an extraordinary turn of events last night, we were informed that the British government is excluding the Sinn Féin party leader Mary Lou McDonald from today's meeting. No reason given, but there are meetings taking place today as well, of course, and Sinn Féin, I believe, are part of those. On to the Farmers Journal now, and their headline: McConalogue scraps Suckler Cull schemes. Minister for Agriculture Charlie McConalogue has shelved plans for Suckler Cull schemes, saying they are now off the table, which is going to be good news, I presume, for some within the farming community. Both the farm organisations and the processors are in agreement that they do not want a beef reduction scheme, so that is something that's off the table. He told over 350 farmers at the IFA's Climate Summit in Limerick on Tuesday. However, the minister said he would be looking at a dairy exit scheme and would engage further with the Food Vision Dairy Group. The consensus of the Food Vision Dairy Group was that a cow reduction scheme should be examined further. Again, if that is something that you want to have a conversation on, 086 60 25,000 is the text line there. Last but not least, it is the Sun, and sad news as it relates to Riverdance legend Michael Flatley. He revealed on his social media that he's facing a new cancer battle. The 64-year-old, who recently starred in spy movie Blackbird, which he also wrote and directed, last night broke the news on social media. The message on his Facebook page said, "Dear friends, we have something personal to share. Michael Flatley has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of skin cancer. He had skin cancer previously, my mistake. He has undergone surgery and is in the care of an excellent team of doctors. No further comments will be made at this time. We ask only for your prayers and well wishes. Thank you." So it's always sad news to hear that someone is facing those medical difficulties. And we wish him a full and speedy recovery. Right, 086 60 25,000. That's the WhatsApp and text number, 086 60 25,000. Or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. We have Donna Marie and Caroline, as always, taking your calls. All right, we'll be back with our first guests on the show after the break.
There's still time to experience the unmissable magic of winter in Dublin. Come celebrate our rich culture and heritage this January. Take to the heart of the city for Tradfest Temple Bar, from cosy pub sessions to intimate performances in historical hotspots. Or why not immerse yourself in art and culture at any of Dublin's free national museums? There's so much to see and do this January. Winter in Dublin, it's magic. Make your plans today at visitdublin.com. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Finn Valley AC team leader Patsy McGonigal. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters, in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering Level 9 Executive Masters in Leadership and Innovation for private and public sector managers, starting in January. Take the next step in your career and call 9186 206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Toyota Relax, our new service-activated warranty, is now available at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny in Mount Charles. Whether you bought your Toyota from us, a classified ad, or your auntie, once it's less than 10 years old with under 185,000 kilometres, you will get a 12-month warranty when you get your service at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. For more, search Toyota Relax. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you lease support the dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? At Local Insurance, we understand your needs. Call today for a bespoke quote or find us online at localinsurance.ie. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network DAC Trading's local insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited trading as Acorn Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard. Bringing full banking features. Delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union.
All right, you're very welcome back to the programme. So we mentioned on the programme yesterday something that was launched towards the end of last year, ChatGPT. And we're going to explain to you precisely what this is and maybe tease what... firstly, it's like Google on steroids, but so much more. And it's only going to develop even further over the next year, as is AI. So it's something we're going to be talking about in a while. So we want to get in early on the conversation for all of you listening out there. And to help us do so, we're joined by a couple of guests. I'll say good morning first to Jenny Darmody, editor of Silicon Republic. Good morning, Jenny. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you with us. Right, okay, so for those who've never heard of this, talk to us about ChatGPT. What is it?
So ChatGPT is essentially an AI software tool. It's a text generating tool, and as you said, it is a little bit like Google on steroids. It's very, very advanced, very, very predictive of what the user might want. So you can put in questions and it'll give back quite detailed answers, but you can also kind of give it if you give it the right prompts, it can generate much longer things, anything from songs, recipes and essays and things like that.
Yeah, and I have seen some people go, well, I had a look at it and it's not all that, and it's clear it's this, that and the other. A lot of it depends on what you input as to what it outputs. And I've read some comments from some people that know an awful lot more than me, and when the information of what you want out from it is inputted in a certain way, there are some that find it difficult to differentiate between it and the work of a human.
Yeah, so it has become very, very advanced, and it's designed specifically to sound really conversational, to sound really human. But yeah, there is still bias issues that come into play with AI, and there's still problems. So it can spit back out information that's not necessarily correct, but it doesn't tend to let you know if it doesn't know the answer. It tends to spit back the answer as best it can in a very confident way, which brings dangers of misinformation and things like that. And especially if it's being used in a sort of a content generation way, and that stuff isn't being fact checked, that can lead to serious problems. There's
different views on the plagiarism element to this, because it doesn't necessarily, my understanding is, and I'm open to correction on this, it doesn't cut and paste paragraphs per se. It seems to be more, it interprets it more. So it is possible that whilst, on the face of it, it would be plagiarism, that it might not be as easy to pick up compared to someone cutting and pasting an article themselves from the internet into the work for college or for school, for example.
Yeah, so essentially it is a language model, and it's learned how to react and behave based on massive data that's already on the internet, and that's basically where the plagiarism element is coming in, because it's learning from language and information that's already out there, and if it's piecing together enough of it from different sources, it can sort of circumvent those plagiarism elements, because people who tend to copy and paste, the plagiarism software is designed to spot those kind of sentences that are lifted directly, and if it's spliced together, that's how it can kind of get around those issues.
Yeah, and of course too, I suppose we ourselves, depending on how AI advances, do we really have many original thoughts? We ourselves are taking bits and pieces, be it consciously or subconsciously, and creating a piece of work, albeit not be able to be picked up by software properly. So, as I say, this is the first iteration really of it that we've access to. I think later on in the year, it's going to be able to access live information. I believe at this point it's working off a block of information in the past. Do you see this? I also read from one academic that said this is the death knell for universities if they don't change. So, do you see this as a positive tool for education? In other words, if it's embraced the right way, or perhaps maybe it skews everything. Will every piece of work that's produced now in months and years to come be suspected of being from ChatGPT? Do you know what I mean? How do you see this fitting into education, especially as it evolves?
There definitely is already, there's a lot of concerns in the academic community, I think, around this. And I think there's already several researchers and developers who are working on sort of plagiarism tools for things like GPT. They're looking to design these tools to actually detect whether or not it was created by an AI tool. So I think those tools will come more to the forefront. I think the biggest concern really is, as you said, you could argue that there might not be original thoughts anymore, but I think students who might put a direct prompt the right way into an AI tool and asking them to write a critical essay about something and getting their homework done for them essentially removes the problem solving, the critical thinking that comes with creating an essay like that, even if it is just a case of doing the research and finding other people's thoughts and putting together. That's how people kind of develop their critical thinking. So I think that is a big concern, but there are other ways it could be used. I've heard of some students or teachers have used the AI to create an essay based on, a particular topic and then given it to their students and asked them to take it apart and critically assess that themselves. So it could be used in positive ways.
All right, we're also joined by Professor Kevin Curran, a regular guest on the show. He's a professor of cybersecurity at Ulster University. Professor Curran, good morning to you. Great to see you again.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, what's your take on this?
It's a powerful tool. It's been around for a while, but it's because they've released it to the public. Now, Google also have a similar system as well, and that caused headlines a few months ago where one of their researchers came out and said that he believed it was sentient, that he believed...
I think he was sacked for that, wasn't he?
He was. So again, we're seeing this because it's been released to the public. Now, if you try and go online today, or even last night, I was doing it again. The site is oversubscribed. Actually, the site is not working for it's too many people on there. But it's just we've just kind of gone to a new level really with a tool which is being released to the public. Again, which really comes back with quite good answers whenever you type something in natural language.
But this is a huge. Do you think, maybe I'm overstating, I actually believe this is going to be not necessarily ChatGPT in its current form, but in terms of what it can create in terms of image, music and stuff. And this is really the first iteration we've kind of seen of it. So I think this is, I don't know if you agree, Professor, I think this is really quite a significant, or it will be seen as quite a significant step forward in technology. At least front facing that we can see.
It is. I mean, obviously, it does one thing. What it does, it enables us to interact with a computer, which actually seems to be a human. And that's what it does. So therefore, it has consequences in a lot of areas. Of course, one is that now you can be given a question by a teacher and you just type the question into OpenAI's ChatGPT and it comes up with a beautiful essay and whatever else. But there are tools which allow you to get around that, because there are so many cheat sites out there where you type in a question and it literally has all the answers from the previous ones, because examiners around the world and lecturers. And
I think this is the creative element, though, I think this is sort of stepping into.
We've reused questions again. So even there's a photomat app, system where you just take a photograph of your maths question and it comes up with the answer. I mean, there's tons of sites like that. So we're dealing with that for a long time. That's why you got to have, well, not creativity. You got to form your questions properly so that they're not searchable on the internet, and that's what we have to do. And of course, we'll have tools to be able to see, is this generated by ChatGPT? But this is modern life we're going into again. So we're dealing, and even things like this. I mean, this can be used in some ways in cybersecurity as well to cheat people, to have people phone up and seem that they're dealing with someone legitimately and giving the right answers, and it enables operators to do more. So in other words, it's kind of we're into a new era.
Yeah.
Computers sounding like humans.
And Jenny, it's clear that, Professor Curran and his university are well across this, you know what I mean, and quite rightly so, you'd expect it. And the reason partly to also I kind of wanted to have this conversation is that I think there's an awful lot of people in education, maybe not at third level or wherever, that may be not familiar with this or what its capabilities. So they, I think I'd be of the opinion that I think everyone in education should know about things like this so that they can either use it as a tool or be able to find some ways to sort of spot if it's being abused by students, if you could call it abuse.
Yeah, and I think if you're going younger as well, there was a discussion. I read an article with teachers who talked about it, but they were mostly from the slightly younger, not college age kids. And probably one of the easiest things that they could spot was that the language was far too advanced. So like a 9-year-old might not write the word tumultuous when they're writing an essay or things like that. So there are spots, and as Kevin said, there's cheats and workarounds that have been around for a long time, long before AI was being used. So teachers and educators, I suppose, are well above looking for these things. And, not everybody uses plagiarism software. So, teachers tend to have an eye for, this looks a little bit suspicious. They might not know why straight away, but they know it looks suspicious for some reason. And yeah, I do think that they should be aware that this tool exists, but also not hide away from it completely. As I said, it could be used in a clever way to sort of introduce this to students and explain why this stuff, humans still need to be in the loop and things like that. So I think it's a good way to introduce them to it, because it's not like children and kids won't grow up knowing this tech.
Just to broaden out a bit, Kevin, you talked about for some it could appear to be like talking to a human, and if this was someone's source information, say, for example, instead of your likes of a Google, there are already some accusations that this ChatGPT, in terms of the results it returns to you, has political leanings. Now, and no one is in control of this. What I mean is, like, this is kind of open source, so at least that's how it appears. But already there are some suggesting that it favours, it's maybe more left-leaning than right-leaning, for example. I mean, as we move forward in the years ahead and we're engaging with AI, maybe that will become more of an issue.
Yeah, there's ethical concerns in artificial intelligence, for instance. We've known that because, for instance, a lot of AI, artificial intelligence, is used for facial recognition. Of course, yeah, whenever you unlock your phone or whatever else, there's AI in there, and also for databases. But it was found years ago that people of color were unfairly discriminated against because the training sets, again, which were used to train these facial recognition algorithms, were generally made up of white middle-class technology people again, and it didn't have access to Asian faces and people of color as well. So these things can happen, whether, meant to be or not. An AI tool is only as good as the data that is trained on. And of course, ChatGPT, again, is limited, that it doesn't know anything about the world in the last year, that everything that's been trained upon so far was from 2021 previously. So therefore it's got big gaps in its knowledge about a modern world as well. But data, any AI tool is only as good as the data is given, because to train this ChatGPT as well, there was humans involved in the loop, what we call reinforcement learning. So they typed in questions and it might say, what color is a tree? And if the ChatGPT at the time came out with a nonsensical answer, they would kind of correct it, feed it back in again. And this is called reinforcement learning. So humans were involved in training this, but of course that's only it's kind of like a kickoff part again. There'll be less humans needed in the future.
All right, Jenny, so finally, what do you think then, how important do you think, this or other incarnations of it will be in the future? Do you think it is something maybe, those in education need to ensure they're on top of if they're not already, or is this just a fad or something?
I definitely don't think it's a fad. AI tools like this, it won't be just GPT, it'll be many other tools. And as Kevin said, AI is in everything and it's continuing to grow. So I think it's something that educators and everybody needs to be aware of, because it will continue to grow this year, and many other companies will come up with their own tools. But I think both from being wary of students using it, but also educating students about it is really important, because that bias piece is so important, because it's essentially learning, like it's not sentient, despite what a select few people might think. It's not sentient, it's learning from humans and data that's gone into the internet, which is incredibly biased, as we all know. An internet search can be very biased, and even when you're searching questions, you get bias reinforcement of your own thoughts and things like that. So I think there's a lot of education that could be done here for students as well, as they move forward into a world that is surrounded by AI.
Jenny Darmody, thank you so much indeed, editor of Silicon Republic. Where do you think this sits in terms of our lives going forward? Finally, Kevin?
It's a huge step for mankind again. But also Microsoft have a tool called Valley, which synthesizes voice. In other words, with 3 seconds of audio, it can replicate your voice. So therefore, if you have 3 seconds of my voice, then you just type away, and actually you can actually sound like me on the phone. And this is being used by scammers to phone up people and have money transferred, where the people in the accounts department swore they were talking to their boss. And this is it's also it's in the same field again, really. Again, so these tools are actually quite incredible. In the future, you will have to have passwords on the phone, because you can't trust voice in the future.
Scary. And you still believe our phones don't listen to our conversation and target ads towards us, do you, Kevin?
They don't.
Yes, they do. They do. I know. Come here.
No, because it's your searches, everything else.
No, I know, but I was talking to someone, right?
No.
I respect your view because you are a professor.
It would look at.
Explain to me. I'm speaking to someone, right? I was speaking to someone a couple of days ago who had a blocked ear, right? And I suggested that they went and got their ears syringed. And I'm a critical thinker, don't get me wrong. That evening, now I can tell you, I Google some stuff, but not this. That evening, across Facebook, across all the Meta platforms, I was being fed ear clinic adverts. How could that happen? It's the coincidence of coincidences, Kevin.
Yeah, but quite a lot you can trace it back even to credit cards, because we forget that. We think we're being tracked online, but every time you do a purchase with your credit card, that data is sold on, to third parties. So maybe, I don't know, maybe you bought ear again. You're right. But they don't listen because it would be an outcry. Look at the people who work in these companies are like me, they're techies. They can't do it. It would be the ultimate privacy invasion, really. So they can't.
I get you, Kevin. And listen, I'm sorry to finish on such a note after quite an important convo. Lovely to see you again, Kevin. Let's leave it not so long before the next time. Thank you so much indeed. Take care. Paul, sorry, you've been holding there waiting patiently. You were having a look at ChatGPT. What's your review of it?
I think it's excellent. I think it will be used for plagiarism, unfortunately. So Academica will have to work out some way of maybe be more making people be more creative and critical thinking and things like that. But it's another stage up. I created a poem in a minute. Like for instance, if you said to me, if you gave me a topic, I can do a poem in a minute on it.
Yeah,
I've done a song about Highland Radio. It's just so amazing. So,
well, actually, what we'll do is what I might do next in the next ad break. I will ask it to write a poem about Highland Radio, and after 10 o'clock, we'll read it out and see what it says. I mean, I've spoken to you before about parental alienation. It's something that you're very passionate about and speak out about quite a bit. Did you use it to sort of, try and be creative on that issue? And how would you rate the results?
I rated the result very highly. Very highly. It gave a very good definition of it. Very objective one, I thought. But as your expert said, there could be biases in it, and they will affect anything. But in Google, there's biases. Everyone uses Google every day. In Academica, there's major biases depending on in politics, there's major biases anyway. So we have to be very aware of all them things. But no, regarding the definition and that about parental alienation, for instance, it was very good because it's an area that people will conflict about, All
right. Listen, Paul, lovely to chat to you. Thank you so very much indeed. All right, we'll be back with more after the break.
Us pigeons see everything when we're flapping around up here.
Well, almost everything.
See, burning certain fuels releases invisible toxic pollutants, which can trigger asthma and lead to serious illness. So, if you're going to light a fire in your home, make sure to use low-smoke fuel. Oh, and never wing it burning rubbish.
Choosing low-smoke fuel is better for all of us. Let's clear the air for everyone. And remember to clean chimneys and heating appliances at least once a year. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Every year, about 2,800 people in Ireland get bowel cancer. Bowel screening helps to reduce your risk of developing it. If you're aged 60 to 69, you can register today for a free bowel screen test kit. Once you've done the test at home, return it by free post and we'll test your sample for levels of blood. If you need any more tests, we'll let you know. Register today at hse.ie/bowel screen or free phone 1800 45 45 55 from the HSE.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
You may think you know driving, but you don't know Nissan e-Power. An electric motor that brings you the performance and response on the road that you demand, charged by a petrol engine as you drive. The thrill and economy of electric driving without ever having to plug in. And it's exclusive to Nissan. Who said you have to plug in to drive electric? Find the drive you've been looking for with e-Power. Now available in the new Nissan Qashqai, a unique electrifying experience now unplugged. Nissan, innovation that excites.
PDO Thread Lifts, the ultimate non-surgical lift for the skin, improving facial contours, lifting and tightening jowls, the neck, cheeks and eyebrows, are available at Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Eudore. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin conditions. Hair and makeup packages also available. Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Eudore, 07495 325 75.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering mortgages from 40,000 to 600,000 euro with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
All right, welcome back to the programme. Joined on it now by Senator Aisling Dolan, Fine Gael Seanad spokesperson for education, further and higher education. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning and thank you so much.
We, on programmes like this, and I'm sure it's the same across the country, it's just a matter of time every year before we start getting calls as it relates to the school transport system. There's always... Now, I think it's fair to say from the beginning, I think for the majority, people are satisfied, but it does seem to always leave a large... well, not large, but a significant number of students and their families left out or upset. You know, it's people losing out on seats because of a lotto. You know, someone in an office somewhere drawing names out of a hat. I mean, in 2023, we need to be coming up with a better system, surely.
Well, look, it's absolutely true. I think, what was really fantastic is that last year we had nearly another 44,000 children. So, families using school transport to get to school, which has taken car journeys off the road. So, that was a really positive outcome. But
sorry to cut across you, Senator. What figure did you say of extra seats that we had?
So there's in total this year 121,000 tickets, and that was roughly about 15,000 children with special needs as well would have been on using our buses or using the school transport buses.
How many additional seats were made available?
44,000.
Yeah. Now, did we ever audit that 44,000 to find out how many of those seats were actually taken up? Because at that time, there were figures being put around that people, because it were free, were edging their bets effectively with no malice, but they were saying, right, well, we will apply for a seat then. But they didn't avail of it because it didn't fit in with the life of the family. And then those that had seats previously were excluded again through a random selection process. So did we ever audit how many of those extra seats were actually regularly taken? And do you think that would be an important exercise or useful exercise?
Yes, I think this was a cost of living measure. I think that was brought through sort of late last year, and this has been a real challenge, particularly, of course, across all Donegal and in a lot of rural regional towns, I'm sure across Ballyshannon and Bundoran and, it was the same where I'm from in sort of East Galway and Roscommon. There were a lot of schools, secondary schools, where people would have availed of what was known previously and still is as concessionary tickets. And the challenge was, as you said there, the capacity around maybe Bus Éireann having the buses and bus drivers, and just the nature of the announcement, which just came, I suppose, late in the year. And this is why I suppose I'm calling for sort of recommendations from the steering group that will come out early this year, so that we can start making plans early this year to ensure that we have the capacity. So that is the buses, that is the bus drivers, and again, that it is a positive measure that we've seen. It's positive to see so many parents and students availing of the bus. But as you say there, it did leave so many parents in dire situations who would previously maybe have always had access to this concessionary ticket. So they may not have fulfilled maybe every single part of the eligibility criteria, but there had been available seats on a bus. And I just think that, we have to really get those recommendations early this year and put a plan in place. And it needs to be done hopefully from, say, February. And I suppose working with the steering group, that those recommendations are provided to the Minister of Education to be able to make those decisions for this coming year. We have seen that this group were put in place from February 2021. So it's important. They've already given an interim report, and I suppose we just need to see that final report and those recommendations that will feed into hopefully the plan for this year, this coming year.
Yeah, and it needs just to be flexible. I mean, we have situations whereby their students miss out on a seat to a school because the distance to measure between where they live and the school uses an old back road over a hill that a bus couldn't even dream of going up. Do you know what I mean? Just common sense stuff. And you can imagine then how frustrating that might be for students and their parents. So at least use a road that a bus can actually travel on when determining distance. I know that's only a small part of it, but it's those types of rigid rules that leave people missing out for really no reason at all.
And I think, Bus Éireann, so this is provided by the Department of Education, and they work with Bus Éireann around school transport. And Bus Éireann would have advertised, through tender process and so on for drivers and for people to join. So they were looking at, there would have been minibuses, there would have been private providers of buses all around the area, in Donegal as well, who would have applied to work with Bus Éireann and taken on a contract, to deliver a school bus service. And so minibuses and all types of transport can be considered on this, and as you say there are many, roads and borings and things like this that we have to be cognizant of and smart about. But it is about trying to reduce the number of car journeys on a road. And the same as for schools where I'm from as well, and I'm sure all across Donegal, sometimes you can have schools outside of the 50k limit. Like they're in rural areas, they can be on country roads, they can be quite busy in the mornings, people going to work, and they could be in an 80k stretch maybe, or they could be outside of a 50k stretch. And, it is about safe pick-up and drop-off. And there's also the sort of active travel and safe routes to school as well from the Department of Transport. Those are all measures in the last year or 2 years as well, looking at how to make our schools safer. But definitely, I think reducing car journeys is a good way to go. But I suppose just that parents are not left struggling, because if, so many parents were left where they would always have had a way for the children to get to school or the students to get to school, and it just caused so much pressure for mums and dads last year in certain situations. We worked hard to make sure that tickets were then allocated over a number of months, but it was a difficult time, and I suppose that's why we want to see that this is put in place early this year.
Yeah, and do you think how there are certain rules too that seem to frustrate you? Everything obviously is always about the students and the schools and the teachers and all, but what about the people that provide the service? There are some rules that apply, for instance, for people who are subcontracted by Bus Éireann that don't apply if you're independent of Bus Éireann. The compulsory retirement age for drivers, perfect buses that are for a certain age that can no longer be used, the blind tendering process, maybe fussy inspectors. Maybe not under the auspices or under your control, but do you think whilst we are reviewing it, we could review it across the board, particularly for those who really are that keep the wheels turning quite literally?
Well, I really do look forward to seeing the recommendations coming from the steering group. You know, they have been reviewing this and they have been looking at it across probably a number of years. And I mean, you know, to take into account, I mean, our population, we've seen that from the, you know, we're 5.2 million, you know, the highest ever in Ireland. But of course, that, which is great, you know, you know, it's great. And hopefully we're seeing more people living in the West and in the Northwest. But it just means that obviously there are more children that need access to buses and getting to schools, and you know there's higher numbers in our primary schools and our secondary schools. So I think you know we need to look at all sorts of solutions here, and I would really hope that the steering group are doing that. I mean, they did in their interim report, they did come out with a recommendation about the next nearest school for secondary schools, and that was a measure that the minister did consider and put in place. So there are. This group would be knowledgeable, and I would hope are looking across a wide range of areas, for the report, the recommendations that they'll bring forward, hopefully.
All right, well, we'll watch on with interest to see if that is the case. Senator Aisling Dolan, thank you very much indeed. Aisling is Fine Gael Seanad spokesperson for education, further and higher education.
For day-to-day healthcare needs, generations have trusted the experienced staff at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From coughs and colds to aches and pains, from vitamin supplements to first aid essentials. McGee's have what you need when you need it, with a full prescription service available daily. McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny. For healthcare help and advice you can always trust.
At Ulster Bank, our team is continuing to close current and deposit accounts, along with some of our branches. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. All personal and business account deadlines are fast approaching. You must take urgent action. If you are still relying on your bank account and in need of more support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Minister does U-turn on suckler payments. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
There will be no compensation for getting out of sucklers, but dairy exit scheme on the table. Furious Quilcha buys over 1,000 acres as part of controversial Gresham House joint venture. Knackeries threaten strike action in payment row. We analyse how the new cap impacts on entitlements and land leasing. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips for your farm and family.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Order. There's a lot to be said for it. Not the restrictive, always play by the book, straight down the line kind of order, but the order you place for a brand new 231 Audi. An order best placed having experienced true progress with a test drive at your Audi dealer, where you will also get advice on the options available to ensure owning your 231 Audi is as straightforward as possible, which is proper order. Visit your nearest Audi dealer, where future is an attitude.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Thinking of a sun holiday this summer with the family? Fly to Alicante, Malaga, Faro, Lanzarote, Mallorca and Milan with Ryanair. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
All right, westerly winds will be very strong and gusty today. There'll be a mix of sunny spells and showers, frequent with a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Afternoon temperatures 7 or 8 degrees. The showers will continue through tonight. Lowest temperatures of 3 to 5 degrees with fresh to strong westerly winds. 086 60 25,000. That is your WhatsApp and text number. Keep us busy on that if you don't mind. Right, okay. Let us read some of your comments as I try and work out when I have to fire the next outbreak. Right, okay. There is an app called Chat Me Chat that gives you AI girlfriend, boyfriend. This is not healthy and is going to skew young people's view of relationships even more. Yeah, indeed. Greg, I agree with... if I look up stuff on the phone, within half an hour I get stuff on my phone to do with what I look up. Yeah, if you look it up on your phone, definitely. There's no doubt about that. It accesses your cookies. So when you go on a website and it says... things are actually worse now than they were before because people just say accept all cookies. Your phone now, your computer, and they're interchangeable now. If you search something on the internet, you will be fed adverts in relation to that and content in relation to that. That's happening. I was kind of joking with Kevin because I know he doesn't think the phones are listening to us, but I'll tell you, there's too many, and I'm not really a conspiracy theorist or whatever. I don't know that maybe that phrase has different connotations now. I don't mean it in that regard, but there's been too many cases where I've been speaking and then adverts based on that conversation, nothing to do with what I've inputted into anything. I start getting adverts based on that conversation. I wish we knew when the far right were planning on having their protests so we could have a counter-protest to welcome refugees. Why are the hateful right so clandestine? Now, what I will say is that whilst there will always be people that will push a certain agenda, I think labelling everyone or even labelling anyone is not advisable. There are people in certain communities generationally that have struggled for accommodation, or parents that know that their children may never get accommodation, and in those same areas then accommodation is found very quickly, and for the right reasons, to obviously offer people refuge. But they're going to have very genuine concerns, aren't they? And they're probably not the ones standing outside saying get people out, but we also have to recognise that there are those who would love similar treatment, equal treatment. And there are the resources, if there were the will, to ensure that everyone is looked after. Many schools in Donegal are now facing language barriers. Would it be possible to bring translating technology into the classrooms on the likes of Alexa? I've spoken to people in education who've got really good suggestions in that regard. We shall see if any of them come to pass. Damien English resigns for breaching planning laws when it came to light that other TDs did the same thing months back. Did it not jog his memory? Taking the Irish people for fools, should be made resign from everything, not just as junior TD, for what they label as dishonesty. Current version of ChatGPT, says Michael on Twitter, it wouldn't be good enough to pass for coursework. I've used the free version as much as I could without subscribing, and have to say it's good. I'd be more concerned with what ChatGPT will morph into in the future, as it's only going to get better, of course. Yeah, we have inputted a bit of information about Highland Radio and asked it to write a poem for us. It's all very exciting, isn't it? We'll reveal that to you after the 10 o'clock news. Damien English, Minister of State at the Department of Enterprise, resigns his post and thinks we should all be grateful that he acknowledged his repentance for his mistake. A real resigning is leaving politics, not stepping down until the dust settles and then re-entering like nothing happened. It's time this country started to see more real accountability and not simply what they see as tokenism. Rightio. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
For great fuel deals, contact Gortley Sales and Hire. Large sacks and trailer loads of logs. Also briquettes, coal, kindling and gas with free delivery locally. Contact Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny on 9126276.
Winter sale at Brian McCormick Sports now on. In-store and online. Discounts of up to 30% off. Asics, New Balance, Brooks and Hoka footwear. GT 2000, Gel Cumulus, New Balance 880, Hoka Clifton 8, to name just a few. Treat your feet in our winter sale. Grab a discount and stretch those legs. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Don't sleep in and miss the very latest beds and mattress offers from dfibeds.ie, Ireland's leading online bed and mattress retailer. You'll get a comfy Irish-made mattress, upholstered base and headboard from an amazing €229. Check out the full range at dfibeds.ie. Delivery free and guaranteed to you within 7 working days. DFI Beds. Sleep well, live well.
Green Shoes' big winter sale is now on with massive reductions. Up to 50% off across your favourite brands, including Echo, Tommy Bow, Kate Appleby, Una Healy and many more. Green Shoes at Market Square, Letterkenny Shopping Centre and in Fulcara. Or shop online at greenshoes.com.
Hi, Jean Kern here to let you know that our first Highland Radio Book Club choice for 2023 is John Boyne's latest novel for adults, All the Broken Places, the long-awaited sequel to the global bestseller The Boy in Striped Pyjamas. In 1946, a mother and daughter flee Poland for Paris, shame and fear at their heels. Nearly 80 years later, the daughter Gretel lives a life that is a far cry from her traumatic childhood. When a couple move into the flat below her in London, the appearance of their 9-year-old son Henry brings back memories she would rather forget. Faced with a choice between her own safety and his, Gretel is taken back to a similar crossroads in her childhood. Back then, her complicity dishonoured her life, but to interfere now could risk revealing the secrets she has spent a lifetime protecting. We will be reviewing the book on my show on Sunday the 5th of February, and as usual, if you'd like to take part in any of our reviews, email me jeancurran@highlandradio.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donal Kavanagh at the Highland Radio News Desk. Donegal TD Pearse Doherty is seeking a meeting with the HSE to discuss the future of the NowDoc service. At present, the GP out-of-hours service is managed and delivered by the HSE's NowDoc system as part of a hybrid model, with CareDoc providing GPs for the delivery of care. It's understood the talks currently underway may see CareDoc take over the service completely, with questions being raised about whether the call centre will be transferred from Letterkenny to Carlow and what the status of 4 satellite centres across Donegal will be. Deputy Pearse Doherty says a meeting is necessary to ensure that the interests of the people of Donegal are at the heart of the discussions.
At the end of the day, the HSE have a contract with GPs to provide 24-hour service. The GPs fulfil that contract by providing the NowDoc service, which deals with out-of-hours services. So the HSE has a responsibility to the people of Donegal to make sure that that service is maintained, is accessible. There is also another issue, obviously, in terms of the staff that are working within the service at this point in time. We need clarity in terms of where this is going. Is there a chance that the call centre is going to be closed in Letterkenny?
The Taoiseach and Taoiseach are both in Belfast this morning. Leo Varadkar is having discussions with the political parties at Stormont. The Taoiseach Micheál Martin is meeting with the Northern Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. Meanwhile, the Sinn Féin President Mary Lou MacDonald, who will take part in today's discussions with the Taoiseach, says being left out of the talks with the British government on the protocol yesterday was petulant nonsense. She was asked not to attend a meeting with James Cleverly, despite the fact that she'd previously engaged with the British government. She's written to the UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak seeking a meeting. Mary Lou MacDonald says the decision to exclude her was bizarre.
They seemed to cite later in the day some concern around protocol, that because I'm elected in Dublin that they couldn't meet with me until they met with the Minister for Foreign Affairs. But as the Irish government has made very, very clear, there were no protocol concerns whatsoever. So not alone was their decision bizarre, it's also very unsettling.
Junior Minister Damien English has resigned. In a statement, he says he informed the Taoiseach last night of his decision to step down as Minister of State at the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. It follows reports that he failed to declare details of a 2008 planning application relating to a property in County Meath. The Fine Gael TD says, having reviewed the application, it's clear to him that he failed to inform Meath County Council about his ownership of the property, adding it was wrong and not up to the standard required. He's apologised and said he will continue to serve the people of Meath West. Almost 2,200 needs assessments for Irish children with disabilities are at least 3 months overdue. The HSE is legally supposed to be finished within 6 months to allow children get care for autism and other issues. Donegal GP Kieran O'Farry says the delays are unacceptable.
Derry City and Strabane police officers conducted over 600
It is a big problem because a lot of these are young children and we're trying to get to a diagnosis. Without a diagnosis, they can't access the care that they need. And we know that from the evidence, early assessment and early intervention can improve outcomes. So any delay in that assessment can lead to poorer outcomes for children, unfortunately.
And police in Derry City and Strabane carried out 40 drug seizures and 25 related arrests during the Christmas period. Police conducted more than 600 patrols in the district during Operation Season's Greeting, which ran from November 17th to January 2nd. With more, here's Emma Ryan.
Derry City and Strabane police officers conducted over 600 patrols over the Christmas period, with this year's Operation Season Greetings focused on a range of safety priorities, including roads and transport, streets and socialising, shopping and homes. During this time, 40 drug seizures took place with 25 related arrests made. Retail crime was a key focus during the campaign, with 20 arrests made in relation to retail theft and associated offences. During this period, in addition to those targeted offences, officers responded to 1,741 calls for service across the city and district. Chief Inspector Yvonne McManus said the aim of Operation Season Greetings was to enhance the safety of the people of Northern Ireland over the Christmas period.
Weather forecast: westerly winds strong and gusty today. Stormy along the coast of Donegal this afternoon with a mix of sunny spells and showers, frequent and with a chance of isolated thunderstorms. Afternoon temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. Showers continuing tonight with lowest overnight temperatures 3 to 5 in fresh to strong westerly winds. Tomorrow, Friday, showers in the morning will ease with sunshine for a time in the afternoon. Fresh and gusty westerly winds will ease as well in afternoon temperatures of 7 to 9. It will, however, be wet again by tomorrow, Friday evening, and that's Highland Radio News. We're back with headlines again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 12th of January. The death has taken place of Brother Timothy Jackie McLaughlin, Delasal Brothers, Miguel House, Castletown, Portlaoise, County Laois, late of Carndonagh, Donegal. Reposing at Miguel House, Castletown, Portlaoise today from 11 o'clock with evening prayer and rosary at 7. Funeral mass tomorrow at 2 p.m. with burial afterwards in the monastery cemetery, Castletown. The death has occurred of Mary Teresa McGinty, née Walsh, Cabra, Glebe, Church Hill. Remains reposing at her late residence. House strictly private to family and friends only, please. Funeral mass tomorrow at 11 in Glendone Church with burial afterwards in Temple Douglas Cemetery. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu of desired to the Donegal Hospice, care of Con MacDade Funeral Directors or any family member. The death has occurred of Eileen Kennedy, the Glebe Killy Beggs. Remains reposing at her residence today from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. and from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Removal tomorrow morning at 10:30 to St Mary of the Visitation Church, Killy Beggs, for 11 o'clock funeral mass with removal afterwards to Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan for cremation. Mass will be streamed live on mcnmedia.tv. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Irish Heart Foundation. The death has taken place of Neil Doherty, Guladuff, Moville. Neil's remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30 for 11 o'clock requiem mass in St Pius X Church, Moville, followed by burial in Ballybrack Cemetery. House private, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Alzheimer's Unit, Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member. Neil's funeral mass can be viewed live on movilleParish.com. The death has taken place in Letchworth, Hertfordshire, England, of Michael McGrinder, formerly of Mina Gorp, Plumbridge, County Tyrone, brother of Terence McGrinder. The funeral will take place in Hertfordshire at a later date. The death has taken place of Teresa Duncan, 3 James Larkin Court, Old Town, Letterkenny. Teresa will repose at Eternal Light Chapel of Rest, Mountain Top, Letterkenny from 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock this evening, with visitors welcome at the family residence. Cremation will take place on Friday at Lakelands Crematorium, Cavan. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Cancer Research, care of Jim Medlin Funeral Directors, Glencar, Letterkenny, or any family member. The death has taken place of Mary Ward, Drimladrid, Letrimac Ward. Her remains will repose at Medlin's funeral home from 3 o'clock until rosary at 8 o'clock this evening. Removal tomorrow morning at 11:15 for 11 o'clock mass in Dunlow Chapel, followed by burial in the local cemetery. The death has occurred of Mary McKelvey, Carrick Namana, Killy Gordon. Remains reposing at her residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 12:30 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon at 1 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining churchyard. The Requiem Mass will be streamed live on the St Patrick's Church, Crossroads, Killygordon YouTube channel. The death has taken place of Fionnuala Bryson, née Colquhoun, 47 Hampstead Park, Derry, formerly of the Green, Kinney-Cally, St Johnson. Fionnuala is reposing at her home in Derry. Funeral from there this morning at 11:30 for Requiem Mass at 12 noon in St Patrick's Church, Pennyburn, followed by interment in St Bathans Cemetery, St Johnson. Family flowers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Friends of Althagovan, Ward 26. And the death has taken place of Dana Tighe, 1 Marion Park, Buncrana. Dana's remains are reposing at 1 Marion Park. Removal from there tomorrow morning at 10:15, travelling to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, with burial in the adjoining cemetery. House private, please, from 10 o'clock tonight and before the funeral tomorrow. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
A very good morning to you. You're very welcome along to the 9 till noon show. And we have another 2 hours of hopefully informative and entertaining content for you. Lots of you messaging in, texting in. We really do appreciate it. 08660 25000. WhatsApps and texts or calls to 074 91 25000. Good morning, Greg. Why are our so-called government actors calling local people who are living in fear far right? It's a disgrace. None of these people are vetted. Well, none of us are vetted, to be honest. I've never been vetted either, so I would be I would probably be classed as a non-vetted person of fighting age, non-vetted male of fighting age. It's a phrase that's often bandied about. I'm not sure how many people are generally vetted, but I do know you're talking about new people coming into this country, which has always been the case. Let me just reiterate. Obviously, the new approach is that has seen 70,000 Ukrainians come into Ireland, but there's always been asylum seekers arriving in Ireland. That's nothing new. I don't think it's good to label anyone personally. I think there's a lot of people, as I've referenced before the news, that are generally concerned, and then there are other people that it's kind of their career at this point to sort of work off those concerns to their own ends. And in somewhere in all of that lies the truth. A caller believes the phones are definitely listening to us. Give me some of your examples that convinced you that your phone or your smart speaker is listening to you. 08660 25000. Greg, people are protesting about busloads of single men put into communities in the middle of the night with no vetting. Vetting is the word that keeps coming up. Yeah, indeed. And I think the government has accepted that, and they are going to tighten the rules, they say, whether they do or not, to try and limit the numbers of those people that you're talking of. Good morning, Greg. A bus leaves our national school with about 10 children on it. Why can't that bus be filled with local kids as well? Yeah, indeed. I'd be aware and have had conversations and texts from people about that. That there are particular bus routes put on in certain ways for Ukrainian children living in communities. Not sure if that was a knee-jerk response. We'll have to see how that plays out over the course of the year. Any chance could you please ask Greg if you could find out how we could pay our local property taxes? I tried phoning and no answer. I can't even get them on the website. My daughter tried and still no good. I would appreciate if you could help me, as I want to get it paid. Well, you can pay it at your local post office if that's useful for you. If that's not a solution for you, get back in touch with us and we'll try and find an alternative. But if you nip along to your local post office, you can pay it there. Good morning, Greg. I think I picked up a tip from you just now that it's not to accept all cookies on one's mobile. I googled up making a fish pie one of the days. Now I'm plagued every day with fish pie recipes. I know it could be worse if it was a scammer, but I agree wholeheartedly that mobiles are listening. Thank you. Well, I googled a mattress and I bought the mattress locally just outside Ballabafay in the Donegal Road there, a great wee company, but that's where I bought it. But after that, you'd swear to God I was going to start my own mattress company. Every fourth post on social media was for mattresses. Mattresses. Now I know you can hide ad and you can click already purchased, but you don't do it, do you? So for... As I say, I was almost, you could have called me Mattress Mick at one stage. Right, so listen, it's only for a bit of fun. I know for some of you maybe the technology and talking about it might bore people. And I'm sorry about that. But it's just, as I say, it's just to see where we're going in the future. I like us to talk about stuff here before it's talked about elsewhere, because it means we're us, you, the listeners, and us. We're like, for instance, it's good to see that Piers Doherty today is talking about Now Doc. You know, we had that conversation on this program. What is it, 4 weeks ago? And we tried to get that ball rolling, tried to get the message out there, and it's good to see now that it's being picked up politically as it relates to changes to Now Doc. So that's what we try and do. We want to have conversations here before they happen elsewhere. So anyway, ChatGPT. It's probably much ado about nothing, but we put in a few words and asked it to write a poem about Highland Radio, okay? So listen to this and give it marks out of 10. Now, I did it during an ad break, right? So I typed in what we wanted during an ad break. I only put in 3 lines, right? I said that the station was Highland Radio. I said it had loyal listeners. And I said that the morning show presenter is Greg Hughes, right? That's all I said. And then it spat out this poem. Shall I read it to you for a bit of crack? Listen up and rate it. As I say, this isn't a human. Okay. This is what it spat out at me. Highland Radio, the voice of the Northwest, echoes through the hills and valleys with loyal listeners who hold it dear, tuning in every morning, year after year. The 9 till noon show, a daily delight. Greg Hughes, the presenter, a guiding light. He brings the news, the weather and more, entertaining the masses, an open door. Highland Radio, a constant companion through the good times and the bad. It's always there, a steady hand, bringing the community together, never apart. So here's to Highland Radio, the voice of the land. May it continue to prosper and expand, with listeners old and new, forever the heartbeat of the Northwest, through and through. So that's what this thing produced for us after we said Highland Radio, it's got loyal listeners, and the morning show's presented by Greg Hughes. What did you think of it? 086 60 25,000 WhatsApps and texts, or give us a call on 07491 25,000. Or if you've got someone close to you, maybe you want me to get it to write a poem for you, save you the bother. All right, let us take the bingo numbers. Good luck if you're playing today.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 12th of January, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €13,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 2. The jackpot number is 39. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 62, 82, 58, 65, 66, 27, 55, 74, 46, and finally 43. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
COVID-19 and flu viruses are circulating in the community. Keeping up to date with your recommended vaccines will make sure you have the best possible protection from serious illness. And everyone aged 18 to 49 can now get a second COVID-19 booster vaccine from a HSC vaccination centre or a participating GP or pharmacy. See what vaccines are recommended for you on hsc.ie or call our team in HSC Live on 1800 700 700 from the HSC.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages with life cover provided at no additional cost. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
I think he enjoys the visits and calls. At the start, he was a bit quiet, but I soon got him going. And so now we talk about all sorts, and he knows I'll help him out with a bit of advice when he needs it. I often say to him, isn't it lucky you started volunteering with a loan? Otherwise you never would have met me.
It feels amazing to make someone feel amazing. Volunteer with a loan. Find out more at alone.ie/volunteer.
Dillon's Hotel, Letterkenny is the perfect place to celebrate special occasions. Dillon's exclusive function rooms cater for up to 120 guests for any occasion, from corporate celebrations, presentations and networking events, to milestone birthdays, anniversaries and retirement parties. There's audio-visual equipment, integrated PA systems and even a private bar. Dylan's Hotel, perfectly located in Letterkenny Town Centre with award-winning food and 5-star service. Call 91 22977.
The choices we make determine where we're going. Where will your choices take you? Visit Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles and join the thousands of Irish drivers who swap diesel for Toyota Hybrid Electric, lowering their emissions and fuel costs. We've Ireland's widest hybrid electric range, including the Toyota CHR and Yaris Cross. Don't miss out. Order today at Kelly's Toyota, Letterkenny or Mount Charles. You'll never take a wrong turn with Toyota. Built for a better world.
Clonley Social Services present Patsy Kavanagh and Shinny Crampsey in concert in the Social Centre, Lifford, Monday 16th of January at 8 p.m. Admission €10. Tickets are limited. Call 087 915 3248 to book.
New year, time for that new year, new me malarkey. Well, I don't think so. I'm fine the way I am, according to the mammy. And we all know she's never wrong. No, the only thing I'm changing is my broadband provider. You see, National Broadband Ireland is delivering high-speed fibre broadband right to my door. With almost 50 broadband providers using their network, I can decide who I want to connect with. I just need to find the best deal for me. And the mammy, of course. You can find out all about it at nbi.ie. NBI, building a limitless Ireland, supported by the Government of Ireland.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Now offering MyCU current account and debit MasterCard, bringing full banking features, delivered with the same local trustworthy service of your credit union. Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. On the programme now is Sinn Féin Deputy Patrick McLaughlin. Good morning, Patrick. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Greg.
Right, so what exactly happened yesterday? What was scheduled yesterday? And I suppose then we can follow on to as to why Mary Lou McDonald was excluded.
Well, the meeting yesterday was to be a round table of the political parties in the north, and with the British Secretary of State. And it was to look at the issue of the protocol, obviously to try and resolve that issue, which is between the British government and the European Commission, to find those solutions, and indeed, most importantly, to get the Assembly up and running, to get the Executive up and running. The people of the North, are being failed, appallingly. They have serious challenges with the health service up there, with the cost of living crisis, and it really is time to get back to work. It's appalling. So there seems to be some progress made, but yesterday, unfortunately, the British government, I think the British Secretary of State gave it away when he spoke later in the day, and he talked about that he was in Northern Ireland and soon he would be in Ireland, as if they're two different countries. And that is really offensive to the nationalist people of the North, particularly when you look at the Good Friday Agreement, which protects both identities, nationalist and unionist. Clearly has a role for the all-island dimension, the North-South Ministerial Council. So his comments and the behaviour of the Tory party yesterday was in defiance of the Good Friday Agreement and an insult to the nationalist people.
And I mean, I'm asking the wrong person really, but why would they see it a good idea at this time to exclude Mary Lou McDonald from these conversations?
I think it's Tory arrogance, Tory petulance. I mean, we've seen obviously the utter chaos in the Tory party last year, with ending up with 3 prime ministers and I think it was 3, 4, 5 chancellors of the Exchequer. An absolute chaos and shambles. And what really surprised me in recent days was they clearly haven't learnt their lessons. I mean, there seems to be some progress in their attitude towards the European Union, the need to build relationships there, the need to look at the whole trade dimension there, which is good news for Ireland. But in terms of learning all the lessons, they clearly haven't. But I think they got a wake-up call. You look at the SDLP. The SDLP, obviously seen it for what it was, refused to participate in the talks. You see the response of the Irish government last night, saying that they hope this doesn't happen again. So, clearly a message has been sent from the nationalist community in Ireland, the political community across the island of Ireland, that was unacceptable what they did yesterday.
All right, and what's happening today? I think you mentioned it there, but what is happening today then?
Yeah, so today you have the Taoiseach will be in the north to meet the political parties, and he will meet the leaders of all political parties. And you will have the British Labour leader, Keir Starmer, who may well be the next British Prime Minister, who's going to be in the north. So, there's a welcome round. Yesterday was very regrettable, very unfortunate, but we'll have to move on. The next meeting the British government have, Mary Lou McDonald will be there as the leader of Sinn Féin, and rightfully so. But what we need to do, and far more important than all of those petulance issues from the Tory party, is we really urgently have to get the Assembly and Executive up and running in the north. It's a mortal sin, Greg. We live in Donegal. We're right on the border with Derry and Tyrone. They're our communities too, and we see those people being failed, and it is just utterly wrong. It has to be resolved, and we need to deal with the issues that impact people every day.
Okay, we'll see how it pans out, but it seems to be we're on a road to some sort of a solution, it would seem. That's what the music is telling us. Your party colleague Piers Doherty has issued a press release today raising concerns for the future of the out-of-hours GP service now, Doc. This is an issue we flagged on this programme a number of weeks ago. I think a lot of people feel the NowDoc service is not perfect. It needs more resources. But what they are concerned with is that CareDoc, which is already heavily involved in NowDoc, has a different vision for how this service might be provided here in Donegal. What's your views on it all?
Yeah, I think part of the problem...
All right, hopefully that line will come back to us there. Maybe it won't. Sorry, Deputy McLaughlin, we just missed you as you started. I think part of the problem, our phone line dropped out here. So if you could just pick it up from there.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. There was an attempt a number of years ago to erode the NowDoc service in Donegal. They were talking about doing away with the Red Eye, which is the service that would run from, basically throughout the night and the early hours of the morning, that sort of 8-hour shift. I think it is from midnight to 8 a.m. And that was resisted really, really strongly in Donegal, and we managed to maintain the service as it was. But the truth is the service isn't resourced as it could be. The truth is that unfortunately on too many occasions people are waiting too long to get the help that they need. The other real concern is that people would be sent to the emergency department in Letterkenny unnecessarily. So while, if there is going to be improvements to the service, extra resources, then we would welcome that. But if there's going to be any loss to the service, then we will resist that really, really strongly, as we have in the past.
Well, a perfect example would have been, say, for instance, last weekend, whereby I would go to NowDoc if I had to in Mount Charles. There is concern Mount Charles could be closed as part of these plans, for example, and that it could be a mobile NowDoc service, a GP in a car, effectively. And the concern is then that more people would be referred to the hospital or go to your GP, when really what you need antibiotics for that sick child just as soon as you can possibly get it. But what you had last weekend in Letterkenny was, I believe there was one doctor, maybe one nurse, and you had people turning up there with everything that's going on at the moment, experiencing very, very long delays, 7-8 hours. One person was waiting at the very least. And at the same time, that doctor, who's working I'm sure very, very hard, had to leave at times to go on call. So what if people are going to do? They're sitting there with a sick child in the waiting room. You get up once the doctor goes on that call and you go to the ED department, because you're not going to take a child home that you're concerned for their well-being. They could be running a 39, 40 degree temperature that's not reacting to Calpol, for example, right? So what you do is you say, right, well, there's a need there. We find the resources to ensure that there are 2 GPs there. And that provides a service for the public, and it alleviates pressure on the ED, and potentially then eases things for the GP coming back in his or her regular practice the next day. That's the logical thing to do. You enhance what's there and what seems to be working, albeit flawed. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and especially when you would have a private company controlling more of this area of health. The red flags are flapping all around me here, Deputy.
Yeah, there's no doubt that and as I say, we are impacted by our experience of the past, where there was an attempt to cut the service back quite dramatically, actually, at that time, and we won the day. But we would have to say that we've never felt that the NowDoc service in Donegal was what it needs to be, for the reasons you've outlined. It isn't resourced properly. People are unnecessarily then end up in the emergency department with all of that. And then if you look at recent weeks, I mean, we were briefed by, when I say we, the TDs in Donegal, the councillors on the HSE forum were briefed before Christmas about the winter plan, and how the HSE and NowDoc and the hospital would all be joined up in the community hospitals. And, unfortunately, that plan, didn't deliver. There was a crisis at the hospital, and there was a real issue with the NowDoc service. So, I mean, this current review, like I spoke to a senior official in the HSE before Christmas about this NowDoc review, and I made it clear that I would expect to see an enhanced service. I would expect to see a service that doesn't unnecessarily send people to the emergency department. And, my colleague...
What were you told in that conversation about the future of the NowDoc centres, for example, how under these proposals, how the service would be delivered? Were you given any indication in that meeting as to what they thought was a better way to deliver the service here?
Well, what I was asked in that conversation I had over the phone was that that they would be given space to engage with the staff. They told me that no staff would lose their jobs.
Yeah, but they don't want to. They won't lose their jobs. Of course, they won't lose their jobs. They'll be redeployed within the health service, and they don't want that. The majority, those that I'm speaking to, they want to stay doing what they're doing because they believe what's there is not perfect. It needs more investment, but anything that changes it, they're okay. They'd be moved to a different department on the same wages, hopefully. But them being retained does not, within the health service, does not mean a retention of the NowDoc service, even at its current levels. So were you told what the new service may look like? If not, that's fine. I understand that it was only a telephone conversation. But did they discuss about the closure of any NowDoc centres? Did they discuss how the service might be provided going into the future and how they would deal with maybe private patients versus medical card patients, for example? Important questions.
Yeah, no, indeed. No, the senior person who spoke to me didn't get into specifics. They just obviously, the news had broke about the review. They confirmed there is a review underway, and it was quite vague in terms of the. For my part, I made it clear that the existing service must be maintained and enhanced, and I expect to see that happening, and I expect to see people not going to the emergency department. So that was the clear message I sent. I said I would await the outcome of the review, but now, obviously, I was also told that the changes would be implemented fairly soon into the new year. So my colleague Pierce Doherty, I know my colleague Councillor Jerry McMonigal, who's the chair of the HSE Forum in the West, have also been probing at this issue. Yeah. So a meeting has been requested now, and we need to get the specifics that you're looking for, Greg.
I just have a slight concern, and I hope I have a slight concern, and I hope it's, and this is not. I hope you take it with in how I intended. I just hope things change going into the future. In that, right, a staff had to whistleblow it to us for us to bring it out into the public domain in the first instance, right? I don't know if it'd fall into the direct description of a whistleblower. And then it learned, and it worried me afterwards, that politicians knew. The conversation was happening. Politicians were in. This stuff should be straight out in the public domain as soon as anyone has any wind of it out.
Just to be clear, Greg, you broke a story that I had no idea about.
Yeah.
And that's why I got a phone call from the senior official, because I had no inclination of a review of NowDoc until you broke that story, and fair play to you. You know, as a journalist, you got somebody who gave you the information. I got the phone call then with vague confirmation of a review, assurances that, that people wouldn't lose jobs, but it was very vague. And I said, well, I'll await the outcome of the review and we'll deal with it when that happens. So that's the. So what your point is valid, and I'm as much in the dark as you were.
All right, it's valid, but it doesn't apply in this case. Okay, I get you. I understand that. Right, I respect that. All right, thanks very much for taking the call, and also We didn't want it to be a Sinn Féin show, so you picked up maybe what Piers Doherty might have spoke to us about as well. So we appreciate that. Thanks, Padraig.
Thanks,
All right,
Greg.
take care of yourself. All right, that's Sinn Féin Deputy Padraig McLaughlin. 08660 25,000. Right, we read our poem that the computer made for us. Good morning, Greg. I give it 10 out of 10. Mary, an avid listener. Mary, thank you very much, by the way, for being a loyal listener. It's very much appreciated. You and everyone that listens to us every day. It's never taken for granted. Thanks, Mary, for your lovely comments. Yes, great poem, says another listener. That's a great poem, Greg. Are you sure you didn't write it yourself? Keep up the great work. I don't think I would be capable of it, sadly. Grania, who I would think knows much more about this stuff than I, says it's not a poem in how a poem should be structured. It's a doggerel. Okay, Grania, thank you. Another texter says on a completely separate issue, I hate those scooter things. Out walking last night, there was one on the road at 8 p.m. The driver, was in dark clothes, no high-vis, and why do they not have to wear helmets? There's legislation coming through at the moment that's going to make that space all a little bit clearer. The Gardaí say they shouldn't be on the road, the motorised ones, if that's what we're talking of, they shouldn't be on the public roads at all, pending this publication of new legislation. And a texter who was on earlier on about people coming into this country that said, no, Greg, what I mean is these people have passports at the start of their journeys, yet when they get here, they've got no documents. Where did the passports go? I know what you're on about, ripping them up on the plane. I read those reports. That's unacceptable. It shouldn't be allowed to happen, of course. Right, okay. Let us take a break. We'll be back with more in the 9 till noon show in a moment.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All Safe Electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
At Centra this week, we have great offers in our better than half price sale. Like Kellogg's Special K 750 gram, now $2.85. Flora Proactive Lower Cholesterol Light Spread 250 gram, now $1.99. Plus Centra Extra Lean Steak Mince 330 gram, only $2.50. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day.
Things don't have to be this way. Introducing
Radio. Take control.
No more searching or complaining, because listen, it's wherever you are. Experts have said to expect 60 stations across the country.
Yeah, and it's even got the pod thingies.
Podcasts.
Oh yes, it's got everything.
Discover a radio experience that speaks to you with the Radio Player app. Download today.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
All right.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Ah, yeah, it's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. To find out the best times for your electricity usage, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
Callahan's Gala and Go Burt, your one-stop family shop. Drive in to our newly renovated spacious forecourt. Fill up with our upgraded modern fuel pumps and save with our keen Go Fuel prices. Located on the main Letterkenny to Derry Road, we're the ideal pit stop on your Donegal journey. Fast flow fuel, self-service or attended with a smile.
Sure, it's all go at Callahan's.
Minister does U-turn on suckler payments. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
There will be no compensation for getting out of sucklers, but dairy exit scheme on the table. Furious Quilcha buys over 1,000 acres as part of controversial Gresham House joint venture. Knackeries threaten strike action in payment row. We analyse how the new cap impacts on entitlements and land leasing. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips for your farm and family.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Are you a Leaving Cert student that is looking at your options for 2023?
Or are you interested in upskilling and progressing in your career with a postgraduate degree or Springboard funded course?
Come along to A2 Donegal's open evening on Wednesday, 18th of January from 4 to 7 p.m. in our Letterkenny campus.
Talk to us about our part-time, flexible postgraduate programmes and find out all you need to know about eligibility and funding available through Springboard.
And learn more about our 20 brand new CEO programmes that will be available this year.
A2 Donegal's open evening, Wednesday, 18th of January from 4 to 7 p.m.
See you there.
Own your car from the start. At B&S Credit Union, you can do just that with a flexible and affordable car loan. Our friendly and experienced team will make the loan process easy and will be delighted to help you. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1-800-290-390. Loans are subject to approval, terms and conditions apply. B&S Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Salah, Nunes, the Beatles. You can now fly to Liverpool 8 times a week with Ryanair this summer. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
All right, we'll go with the moderate weather warning that's been issued in the last 20 minutes for Donegal. Frequent heavy showers along a spells of rain will lead to localised flooding today and tonight. The event is a yellow rain event and it is valid from noon until Friday 12 a.m. and that's for Donegal. Right, okay. Councillor Micheál Colm Galasbeg joins us on the programme now. Good morning to you, Magine Y. How are you keeping?
Magine Y, Greg, agus Magine Y that yesterday. Good morning, maybe radio on you.
You were at the recent Glentees Council meeting and you raised the issue of council home renters having returned keys or having not returned keys. What's the issue here, Micheál?
Well, I spoke on the issue. It was raised by our housing manager in Take Anthony Glanty, the Glentees MD, and he was just informing all 6 councillors and those present that that there was a number of keys returned from council houses. This is an issue that I've been working on for a while, as others, in relation to vacant council houses. But certainly there are circumstances that happens and people would hand back keys for different reasons. Maybe they're emigrating, maybe they've built their own home, or they're moving to another part of the country, different reasons. But I think what was different in this one case here was that these were houses that didn't, even though they were voluntary, the keys, there was voluntary handing, but it was people that the council pursued.
So in other words, they were living in a council home. Sorry, Micheál Colm, sorry, there's a slight delay on the line. It must be that new phone you got yourself. The issue here is that, is it?
I think it was.
No, it's the signal's dropping in and out. But bear with me, I'll get to the question and I want your response. Is this a case really of people living in is this a case of people living in council houses, okay? Maybe they meet someone and they're living somewhere else, or maybe they've chosen to live with the parents or whatever it might be, and they are officially in this council house, but they're not living in it. I mean, is this an issue that's tying up some of the housing stock? And before we maybe get to a crackdown stage, we're asking people, if this is the case, the local authority is aware of it and they would like them to hand back the keys to these properties if they're not actually using them.
Yes, it is. It is. You might give me a thumbs up if you hear me, if there's a delay in the new phone paid by taxpayers, let me add. What do you call it? Yes, it is. And I think what irritates me is that some of these houses had been empty for a while. Some of these houses had been disgracefully been out in Airbnb. Now, we're only talking about Take Hampton, the west, the Glantis Municipal District area. I do believe that there are other circumstances. And I understand if somebody's in a relationship and they're new and they're moving in with somebody else and they're a bit unsure for a number of weeks or so. Absolutely, I fully understand that. I personally, others may, I don't have an issue with that until they get, to see if this is working. But what I do have an issue with, and it's an absolute disgrace, and my language, I think, was very strong at the council meeting, was that it's unacceptable, unmoral, that somebody thinks that it's okay at the time of a housing crisis, yes, caused by government policy, to think that it's okay to live somewhere else and let's rent out our council house and make money on it.
I mean, that really is sorry, Micheál Colm, that is a big deal. So you're saying to me that there is it is actually happening that some people who have a council property are living elsewhere, and that property is available on Airbnb.
It had been, yeah, and I'll take this opportunity, if I can, to absolutely praise the housing staff in the Glantis Municipal District area, from bottom to top, who are absolutely doing fantastic work and difficult work, let me add, at times when the public, and understanding their frustration, but yet sometimes vented out on our staff very angrily and verbally and aggressively, which is not acceptable in any shape or form and never can be acceptable, any form of aggression. But it's difficult for them because, bear in mind, our council staff are equally a part of our community. Our council staff live in the very communities that they have to go and challenge maybe some of their neighbours or friends or whoever it is known to them. And that is very, very difficult. But it cannot be accepted in any shape or form that somebody thinks that it's okay that they pay £30 a week or whatever it is, more maybe, depending on the circumstances, and then rent it out for €100+ a night Airbnb. That is absolute. You know what? Anybody, and if somebody's listening knowing they've done this, you should be very, very ashamed of yourself. We have people who are homeless. We have families who are really struggling to get onto a housing, the property market through houses, through council houses. And I said this somewhere yesterday, that it's really, really important. It was when I was talking about the 29 houses in Gweedore. It's really important. Those that are 18 years of age now and older who are not on the housing market or on the housing list of the council, please get on the housing list. There are hundreds of people out there who do not think there's any point being on the housing list because they think it's too long a wait. There are people who are emigrating because they know they can never build a home, rent a home or buy a home. It's a disgrace what is happening in this country, and a shame and a disgrace for the government and those that support the government and the council. So get registered.
Okay. A caller says this is nothing new. They knew it's been going on for years. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think people would be aware that it's happening. I think because we're in a housing crisis and some people are having to leave, as the council says, feel they've no choice but to leave their own country because, well, now we're putting maybe an extra focus on it. When there's an abundance of housing, maybe, or not even in abundance, but certainly enough housing to match need, you wouldn't focus as much on some of the things we're talking about now. But we are in a bit, what people are doing is robbing a prospect of a home from a neighbour or a friend or a relation. And I think in this day and age particularly, that's why there's a new focus on it. Right, stay with us, because we also were talking on this programme about another issue, a really important issue, in fact. And this was about concerns that between Tusla and Foróige and Tusla, that a very important service, the Ross's NYP, was to be lost because of a new way of approaching it. I don't have the press releases to hand at the moment. Foróige was saying they were making changes because Tusla asked them to. Tusla was saying, well, we never asked Foróige to do this. And we gave people a platform here on this programme to give them an opportunity early on in the process to express their views about what could happen, what the impacts of that might be. So there's been a meeting recently, a public meeting, which was promised. It's a meeting last night with Tusla and Foróige. I'm going to bring in Margaret Rose in a moment, who's obviously was very vocal on this from the beginning. I just want your assessment of this meeting, Micheál Colm, as you were at it as well.
Yeah, I called this meeting before Christmas. and Margaret Rose will outline a lot of it, because myself and Margaret Rose and Alana, Annette, and also Martin from Tusla had been working very closely in relation to this, trying to get the meeting organised. And I chaired the meeting last night, and I have to say that I was so encouraged last night, not because of the turnout itself, but also by the fact there were so many young ones at it. And I don't say that in any patronising manner at all, but it was really heartened by the fact that our youth, those that are service users, those that enjoy it, those, I forget the word, but anyway, that they were there last night. And quite a high number. So
the service users and those impacted by it.
Last night, myself and Alana shared the top table. Yeah, and there was a good attendance there from senior management of Tusla. There was Jerry and there was Maria and there was Martin, who most people that in the community sector would know, and a very capable and very committed person to the youth services. And then there was Claire, who is our youth officer for Ferrog in the area, and then Susan and another Claire from the Northwest. So it was well attended by senior management. How community, when we organise, achieve a lot. And there was a lot of hard questions put last night. There was a lot of positive responses last night. I believe there was a case where there was decisions made and then decisions changed because of public pressure. As one parent said last night, says, "I'm glad the service is staying. I'm not here for blame game," and left. And he was very positive about it and very happy that the services were staying. But at the same time, there was a challenge to Tusla and to Ferrog in terms of two different statements. Highland Radio was mentioned, and very thanked last night for helping us a part of the campaign, as you do. But yeah, we're hoping that out of this, and I don't want to talk about the whole meeting because Margaret is going to say some of the issues concerned as well, raised. But yes, I'm seeing it as positive. We do need more. One of the things that Margaret will talk about later is our hopes and aspirations going forward.
Right, stay there because Margaret is with us, and I appreciate that you don't want to encroach on some of the stuff Margaret will be talking about. Margaret Rose, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
I am good. Right, so can we, in a brief, briefly outline when we first started talking about this, the concern about what was to be lost and the impact that might have? If you can wrap that up for us in a couple of sentences, Margaret Rose.
Yeah, okay. So Friday NYP was based here in Dunlow, and it was a community-based project for children from the ages of 10 to 18. So any child could attend, whatever their abilities. So the only reason I know was one of my own children attended the service, and I felt that it's such a positive impact on him that when I heard the service was finishing here in December, the service we had was finishing here in December, I was very annoyed, to say the least. The new service would have been a referral-based service. So in my opinion, it would be focusing on children's inabilities rather than their abilities.
And we would have also lost then, Margaret Rose, wouldn't we, the fact that this can be, I think the word preemptive. Do you know what I mean? That it could be a service that a child could go to in advance maybe of issues.
Yeah.
Preventative, yeah, that's the word.
Absolutely, yeah. And it also meant that, like, as you say, a lot of children using the service, they wouldn't fall into the referral criteria, for want of a better word. And we had no communication from Friday on the matter, and I just happened to see the decision on Facebook. So I knew as a community we had to do something. So to cut a long story short, parents and volunteers, along with Michael Collum, came together and got to work on it, and we were in contact with Ferrog Management and Tusla, as Michael said. And Tusla, the reason we were in contact with them is because they're the primary funders of the Ferrog NYP. So, as Michael said, a meeting was secured for last night in Dunlow, and so although we're still awaiting statements from both Ferrog and Tusla this morning, we believe it was a positive meeting. So going forward, we in the Rosses area get to keep our service based here in Dunlow. The project will remain open to all young people in the Rosses community, now from the ages of 18 to 21. Our youth worker, Claire, will now also cover Lettermick Award in Fintown on an outreach basis. But the youth population in these areas, they're identified as quite small numbers. But it is an extra bit of work for our youth worker. Regarding the new ages, we're aware, even at this early stage, that 8 to 10-year-olds, they can't be grouped in with those 11 to 18, as the maturity, the social ability and the focus dynamics, it just wouldn't fit. And the same
So in other words, those from 8 to 18-year-olds, will they still, though, have a similar service to access that we thought was... Okay, that's great. So what we wanted... what we were hoping was that rather than this being diluted and spread across a wider catchment area, this is something that clearly was working. We were inundated by people. And we also had one lady who is a foster parent and had, I think, 12 to 18 children that went through this. So we knew this worked. Replicate it, get more staff, get more money, and apply this in the Creasla area or the other areas that were being suggested. Don't dilute what's working and try and cast it thin. So hopefully that's what's going to happen going forward, Margaret Rose, then.
Yeah, still, even with the extra age groups, so instead of 10 to 18 now, it's 21. This is still a huge workload for one youth worker and our volunteers. So going forward, we need to make sure that the youth in our catchment area are receiving adequate service that we've had, and if not, we need to feedback. And in fairness to Tushla and Freude, they have agreed a meeting, a review meeting on this in November, and we're extremely satisfied with that. We please God, going forward today, we'll have that in writing. Brilliant. And Tushla, I have to say, have also agreed that they need to try harder to communicate better with Freude, parents and children. So we do feel that they have listened to us. We genuinely do feel that.
Yes,
but I just hope it's a lesson learned. A lot of that could have been prevented.
We had to bang pots and pans and scream from the top of Ergal to be heard. That's the problem, you see, because this was a decision that seemed to have already been taken. And this is why we have to organise, get together, right? Be it this issue, be it the NowDoc issue, be it the defective concrete issue, whatever it might be, if we organise and get together, doesn't matter what party you're from or if you're from none, let's get politics out of it. This is the type of thing that can be achieved. So fair play to you, Margaret Rose. Micheál Colm, just come back in there, please.
Yeah, just very quickly, and I'd like to thank Margaret Rose and Alana and Kathleen Cook and everybody else who participated in achieving this. I can't name everybody, and everybody worked hard on this. And thanks for Eugen for meeting us, and rightly so. Just a number of very quick points. I think one of the things that stood out for me last night was when Anne says that the lack of communication between the service providers, children, and the parents, carers, or guardians has to be addressed. That actually moved me a bit. Not that I'm an authority in youth work, but I have worked in family support with the HSE and in youth services, both in Donegal and in Dublin. One of the keys is communication. Absolutely. Even in my own job as counsellor, I believe very strongly in communication. But one of the positive things that came out of last night that I suggested last night, and myself and Margaret Rose and Alana had spoke about this, and Tusla, was that what are our needs? Not just that we need youth services in our community, we need far more. We've come to a place in the west of the county, Sagalta, that we now accept the fact that if we need something, we must travel an hour plus, and that's not even mentioning Armore, which has to get ferries, or Tory Island. But we now believe that we need to travel. That's not acceptable. 2023 is not acceptable. So what we've decided last night was that we would put a community committee together without politicians, and that was my own suggestion, because we don't and we can't allow politics to be played here. So a community group would be put together, and that we would look to identify the needs, and then try to identify a family resource centre.
I have to break for the news, but when that committee is formed, I'd love to speak to them, and let's talk out in public as well what these needs are, and we can support them in their work. Thank you very much, Micheál Colm. Well done to you, Margaret Rose, and all of those who didn't let this happen, and we just hope now that we get it in writing and we do have a positive outcome. So well done to you, Margaret Rose.
Thank you very much, and thanks to Highland Radio for all your help and letting us voice our concerns on the matter last year.
That is what we're here for. Have a lovely day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Visit Sensory Complex for a perfect family day out. Kids will love exploring sensory play. We have lots of tasty options available at Backstage Bar and Grill. And at Sensory Cinemas, we're showing kids' movies, comedies, action and adventures, dramas and more. Get in touch on 074 9121 or visit sensorycinemas.ie for more information.
The TUI Live Happy sale is here, with savings of up to €250 per booking. Free child places, even in the school summer holidays. Plus low booking deposits from €50 per person. With holidays to suit all budgets. Relax and get booking. TUI Live Happy. Offer T's and C's apply.
House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on. Open recliner suites starting from an incredible $1,299, or get a McQuaid Irish Made suite at a great price. Call in and see our new flooring section. Carpets, wooden floors, dining and slide rooms. House to Home Interiors, Bridge End, Donegal. Massive January sale now on.
At Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, we are now operating out of one new state-of-the-art showroom in Donegal Town. And we invite you to visit our new 5,000 square foot Donegal Town showroom to discover the latest eye-catching designs. Remember, at Cherrymore, you're dealing directly with a manufacturer, which means high-quality kitchens at factory prices. Start planning your dream kitchen or bedroom by calling Cherrymore on 074 9725 822. Cherrymore, 25 years delivering value, quality and service all over Ireland.
Connect Hearing is open for free hearing tests. Our audiologist is available Monday to Friday for wax removal services at our Letterkenny Clinic in the Courtyard Shopping Centre. We also offer a home visit for those who aren't able to visit us. Our hearing is our social sense. Are you finding hearing more of a challenge? Call Ursula today on 07491 13296 to make an appointment. Good hearing helps us to connect to our family, friends and loved ones. Connect Hearing, connecting you to life.
There's no better time to switch to 48. Get all data, calls and texts for $12.99 a month. And there's no contract, so you're not tied down. Plus, we're powered by 3. Switch and save at 48.ie. Monthly membership, fair usage policy of 200 gigabytes, 5,000 calls and texts and terms and conditions apply. One-time activation fee of $12.99. See 48.ie.
The massive January sale at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor is now on. Everything in store is reduced. Pick up a bargain today at Shoppa Wyaned Gidor.
Alright, it is the 9 till noon show. Some live music coming up for you in a moment. But let's take a break now for the news at 11 o'clock and say good morning to Donald Kavanagh. Good morning, Donald.
Thank you, Greg. Good morning. Donegal Today, Pearse Doherty is seeking a meeting with the HSE to discuss the future of its out-of-hours GP service. At present, the service is managed and delivered by the HSE's NowDoc service as part of a hybrid model, with CareDoc providing GPs for the delivery of care. It's understood the talks currently underway may see CareDoc take over the service completely, with questions about whether the call centre will be transferred from Letterkenny to Carlow and what the status of the 4 NowDoc centres in Donegal, in Letterkenny, Carndonagh and Mount Charles will be. Deputy Pearse Doherty says the HSE must meet with public representatives to ensure that the interests of the people are at the heart of the ongoing discussions. The Taoiseach and Taoiseach are in Northern Ireland today in a bid to resolve the row over the Northern Ireland Protocol and restore the Stormont Executive. Liam Varadkar will meet with party leaders, including Sinn Féin's Mary Lou MacDonald. Micheál Martin is meeting with the Northern Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris. Yesterday, Mary Lou MacDonald was excluded from talks with the Foreign Secretary James Cleverly and other ministers. Sinn Féin and the SDLP ended up boycotting those discussions in protest. Junior Minister Damien English has resigned. In a statement, he says he informed the Taoiseach last night of his decision to step down as Minister of State at the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment. It follows reports that he failed to declare details of a 2008 planning application relating to a property in County Meath before taking on the transport portfolio. Minister English was a regular visitor to Donegal when he was working in the Department of Housing. He was heavily involved in putting together the first micro redress scheme. A Donegal GP says it's unacceptable that over 2,200 Irish children with disabilities have been waiting a long time for needs assessments. Such assessments are supposed to be finished within 6 months to allow children get care for autism and other issues. Dr. Kieran O'Farrell says the delays mean people are not getting the care that they need. And police in Derry City and Strabane carried out 40 drug seizures and 25 related arrests during the Christmas period. Police conducted more than 600 patrols across the district and answered more than 1,700 call-outs in the period from November 17th to January 2nd. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with news headlines again at 12 noon.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Inflation pushes up building costs, so it's important to review your home insurance cover to make sure you have the right cover for your needs. Underinsurance happens where there's a difference between the value of your cover and the cost of repairing damage or replacing contents. It's a risk you can avoid. Review your home insurance policy regularly. For more, visit understandinginsurance.ie/underinsurance. Brought to you by Insurance Ireland.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. And the population of the studio has grown really quite significantly since we were last speaking to you. In studio now, we have Kierzo and the F-Aids. Is that how, Kieran, I'm pronouncing that correctly?
Kierzo and the F-Aids.
Kierzo and the F-Aids. Kieran is a singer, songwriter. Grace Murphy. Grace, good morning to you.
Hello.
Good to have you with us as well. Rhythm guitar and backing vocals. Carl Warner's the lead guitar. Hi, Carl. We've got you stuck at the back there. We put the noisy ones at the back. Grace Nugent's on bass. And Cahir, who makes the most noise altogether, he's back there on
back there
on drums. Listen, we'll put you outside the next time. But listen, it's good to have you back. Right, how long have you been playing as a collective? I recognise a few of your faces. Not all of you have been in here before, have you?
Yeah, I haven't been here before.
You haven't? No, I know you. So someone was different. Okay, so how long have you been playing together? Is this the melding of a couple of bands, or just a complete new?
Well, essentially, I wrote the song. And we were getting it recorded, so I just needed some help from the guys. And Cahir's my wee brother, so that's his band.
Yeah,
I'm the older one. And so we just came together to write the song.
All right, so it was the F-Aids. It was you guys.
It's a collaboration.
I was really struck about how good you were, because you see a lot of stuff, and a lot of stuff is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, but then there's stuff that's, there's levels and everything in life. 100%. Right, so Kieran, what's this song about? Why did you write it?
Right, well, I wrote the song during the pandemic. I was kind of at a high period of anxiety in myself because of, different pressures. And I thought, let me write a song about it, use my creative outlet as a young person for good. I reflected on what gives me anxiety, what gives my friends anxiety, and then I touched on them issues in the song, and we were trying to create that sort of overwhelming feeling that you get from anxiety.
Everything's on top of you.
Yeah, everything's on top of you, and everything's just coming at you, and then there's twists and turns, and you've thoughts in your head that you can't control. So, yeah, we just tried to put that into the song. It kind of represents how people maybe sometimes don't deal with their anxiety very well, and now with the Donegal Youth Service, with Connecting for Life, we're just trying to show people and promote that these are things that you can do.
And for some people, it puts a name on it, Kieran. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're obviously aware, and you're able to say, right, this is how I feel, this is what's making me feel, and this is what it's called. Yeah. But there's an awful lot of people out there that maybe can't identify. They think, was this just me? Is there something wrong with me? Yeah. Am I on my own? No one else feels like this. Why is it on? And it's not. And I think once you understand that many people can feel the same.
Yeah, everyone feels it.
It helps to some extent.
100%.
Did you find the process of writing this song helped you with your anxiety?
100%. Yeah, I think it always helps me just put my feelings into song, and I think a creative outlet is a really great way to kind of help with rationalize your thoughts, maybe.
All right. So, there's one thing to write a song, and then there's another thing to sort of get a few friends together. Yeah. Why did you decide then to go down the route of trying to record it and to get it out there? It's obviously it's a natural progression.
Yeah, well, we got asked.
Everyone does that.
Yeah, we got asked by Connecting for Life and Donegal Youth Service, would we record the song and help it to promote mental health, especially at this time of the year, January time, just after Christmas. It's not an easy time for young people especially, and people can feel lost with so many different issues. So,
and what's it called?
It's called Anxiety.
And are we going to hear it now? Yeah, should we do it now?
We're going to hear
let's
it.
go.
Let's do
okay,
it.
now this is quite impressive because everyone's just turned up and plugged everything in. So we'll see how it all sounds.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's going to be brilliant.
We're hoping it's sounding good.
Kieran, obviously lead vocals. Grace is doing some backing vocals, and the rest of the crew, you'll hear from them. Right, take it away whenever you are ready, guys.
Yeah. Me go, just let me sit at home. I just wanna be on my own. If I had a choice, I'd give you my own voice, but I don't wanna be alone. Making friends, rigid hands, all smoked up in frigid tents, ambitious goals, choosing a hole. Won't you give me back my soul? He's sitting up all night, tapping that screen, looking like he hasn't peed in a week. And I feel so scared that I accept defeat, distorted view, anxiety, oh, hey, and anxiety, why, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, hey, and anxiety, why, oh, I, oh, I, oh, I, oh, better wear socks that are visible. Better not wear those shoes. And we never challenge the invincibles, 'cause they have got so much to lose. I'm in my head, think I'm dead. Won't you get me to my bed? And I roll like I scream and shout, what the hell's this all about? He's sitting up all night, tapping that screen, looking like he hasn't peed in a week. And I feel so scared that I accept defeat, distorted view, anxiety, oh, hey, and anxiety, why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, hey, and anxiety, why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why.
Yay, well done. Brilliant. Excellent.
Thank you.
I mean that. That's great. Something, it's really good. You could play that anywhere, I think.
Happy days. Yeah, well, it's on Spotify and Apple Music and everything, so if you want to give it a listen.
See, this is the kind of stuff radio stations need to be playing.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? I love Spotify, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. And all the streaming services available, but that is that's worthy of any playlist, I think, on any radio station.
100%.
It's available now on Spotify. Is this the only track you've worked together on?
Yeah, we've done bits and bobs like practicing, but
what else have you practiced?
Oh, it's under wraps at the moment. Top secret. Stay tuned, guys.
Right, well, Kieran, clear off. Fades, it's all yours now. No, brilliant. Well done. That's fantastic. And what are you going to do with that next? Obviously, things like this, plug it, right?
Yeah.
Let people know it's out there. Do you just make a video for it?
Yeah, well, there's a video in the works at the moment, so it should be out in the next few weeks.
And we have a song competition, find brilliant new Irish music on this radio station at the moment. It would be a sin if you didn't enter it.
100%.
In my opinion. Because it's really, really good. Okay, fantastic. I can't wait to hear what else he's come out with. Is this going to work now beyond this project?
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose I'll be releasing my own music now in the future, and then the Fades of their own music.
This has got split up.
Well.
This has got split up due to artistic differences written all over it. This hasn't it?
Yeah. I'm a hard person to work with.
We'll just enjoy it while we have it. Yeah,
exactly.
I want to go my own way. He's holding me back. All right. Frankie wants to come in now and bathe. He wants to bathe in the light of your talent.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm sure.
That's it. That's what he does best.
Frankie McGreevy, Our Generation Project Manager. Frankie, what about that? That's 1 second now. That was something else, wasn't it?
Absolutely incredible. Well done, guys. Unbelievable.
If that camera's in your way, just shift it out the way. It doesn't matter for production purposes.
Like your sister or anything like that. No, just move it. Okay, well, it's a camera.
We've seen them now. Come here. Our Generation works with the HSE. Tell us about that project and how this kind of ties into that as well.
Yeah, well, the Connecting for Life project is something we've been working with the Donegal Youth Service Our Generation project in partnership with the HSE. So the Connecting for Life is an HSE organisation. So we've been rolling out Assist, which is 2 days suicide awareness talks, and Safe Talk, which is a half-day intervention with key contacts and professionals who work with young people, and just so that they can have better conversations around exactly what these guys are talking about, around anxiety, around depression, and earlier before it becomes something that's more acute that needs serious attention.
Can I ask you, as young people, if you ever want to shout up, or even Kieran, you're sitting in the mic there, like, do you know when we talk about this? And when I say us, I'm on about the people that make decisions aren't 18 or 19 or 17 or 16. They're old men like me, mostly, right? But, you know, what you're doing is amazing in raising awareness and speaking to young people. But do you feel that do you get a sense that you're being listened to by people within the H? And this is not a criticism of Frankie. And I know Frankie works closely with you, and maybe I could ask him the same question. Do you feel you and these people are being listened to? But do you know what I mean? Do you feel that there is, if you need help, that there's support there, or that people actually truly understand, you know, the anxiety that a lot of young people are feeling now?
Yeah, I do think that as long as you know who to go to and where to go and what to talk about, I mean, the services are here. I suppose that's why we're on the radio today talking about it. It's to raise awareness for this, because some people mightn't feel that they're heard. But I do think personally, and I think these guys maybe would agree, that we do have the support as young people, and even given this opportunity to make this song and use our creative platform to help other young people and maybe connect with them in a way that through music is a way that people can relate, especially as young people. Yeah.
And Frankie, that was the answer I expected, but it's nice to hear it from young people rather than me and you talking about what young people are feeling. I'm much younger than you are, obviously, but you know what I mean. I'm still
just
a
don't
little
look
bit.
Touché.
All right, come here. Touché in a bit. Right, so what else do you think do you want to add, Frankie? Just...
Well, you know, just to mention the referral pathway document that we've been working with Connecting for Life and with CIPSI, the Children and Young People Services Committee. So that's just the serious piece where if parents are out there and young people are out there listening and they feel that they need some support, to have a look at the CIPSI website, CYPSC, and the Connecting for Life website and the Donegal Youth Service website, and you'll see referral pathways that you can get access to help right away. Youth work is like a step below that kind of clinical intervention, and what we're doing here mainly is providing platforms for self-expression for these guys, and that's all we do.
And Frankie, I know you love your music, but that's a particularly good track, isn't it? Because
it's incredible.
Sometimes, and this is not in any way a criticism, this is not to de-elevate anyone else, but sometimes tracks that are attached to an issue, you know what I mean?
You wonder,
they don't necessarily have the same authenticity as that. But even removing the issue, that's just a very good track. Well, does that make sense?
It's about being genuine, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we can all, when you're given a theme to sing about, there's something inauthentic about that. But you can tell with Kieran, that's something that came to him.
Yeah. Just wanted to scream and shout and get it out.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not one of those people that get deep into things, right, in terms of music, because I don't know enough about it. But there's a controlled desperation in parts of that song as well, which talks to anxiety, thinking that what goes on in your head.
Yeah, it's not really contrived.
I think it's really actually quite clever.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Is that what you were trying to do?
Yeah, 100%. In the recording as well, we have we were laughing in the background at the very end, and it's kind of It makes you a little bit uncomfortable listening to it, but it's just meant to sort of emulate them feelings and thoughts.
That's it, and I think even in the live version, it really comes across. But at the same time, it is still singing and it's still harmony, but it's still there's a bit of desperation. Not desperation. Anyway.
Yeah, well, that's
the voices in your head.
100%.
Sometimes the song comes to you. You know, the song writes you rather than you write the song.
Isn't that a bit about music after all? I don't know.
Maybe
you know your stuff.
All right, listen, Kierzo and the Afades. Looking forward to getting seeing that video as well. And the song's available now on Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah, iTunes, Apple Music, anywhere.
So go in and have a listen to it. Brilliant stuff. Enjoyed that. Well done. Brilliant. Says a listener. Hello to my nephews Kieran and Cahir Doyle from Auntie Sarah in Seville. Or Seville?
Seville, yeah.
Seville in foreign?
Spain, yeah.
Why weren't you watching? It's on YouTube. Okay, so if just in case you guys were feeling a bit grown up, your auntie's just sorted that out.
Thanks.
All right.
Thanks, Auntie Sarah. Appreciate it.
All right, listen, thank you so much. Brilliant stuff. If you stick together, I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you in the future, and sure, why not? Just very finally, because the key message, Frankie, is if this resonates, this conversation resonates, what do you advise people to do? Who do they contact? How do they get that signposting that we've sort of been referencing there?
Well, Donegal Youth Service, right off the bat, 07491 29630. And you just ask for any of the youth workers there, or can I speak to someone? And the Connecting for Life, I don't have a number for that, but you can get it online. It's the HSC Suicide Prevention Service. And then there's the Children's and Young People Services Committee website, CIPSI. And on that, parents will be signposted to all the various services across Donegal.
All right, Kieran, thank you. Grace, well done again to you. That's Grace Murphy, of course. Kyle Warner, great stuff on the guitar there. Grace Nugent and bass. Thanks, Grace. Good to have you back in. And Cahir Doyle at the back there on drums. Cahir, thank you so much. All right, brilliant stuff.
Thanks for having us,
You
Greg.
agree? Back after these.
Do you currently have vacancies that need urgently filled? Have you tried various ways to find new staff but didn't succeed? Let Highland Radio help you source and fill your current vacancies in the most cost-effective way. Simply sign up to our new job spot and we will tell our listeners about your vacancies both on air and online. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday during our primetime shows, we will broadcast the latest job opportunities across the Northwest and into counties Derry and Tyrone. All job listings will be available online at highlandradio.com. For more information, contact the advertising team on 07491 25322 or email advertising@highlandradio.com. Highland Radio, we're here for you.
Last chance to enter the Donegal Silage competition with Homeland and Nutrius Animal Feeds. Entries are closing soon, so hurry. Entry is free and includes 5 categories: dairy, beef, sheep, round bale and new entrant. First prize a €300 voucher. Second prize a €200 voucher in each category. For full details, visit homeland.ie. Closing date January 20th.
At Centra this week, we have great offers in our better than half price sale. Like Kellogg's Special K 750 gram now $2.85. Flora Proactive Lower Cholesterol Light Spread 250 gram now $1.99. Plus Centra Extra Lean Steak Mince 330 gram only $2.50. Smart choices, choose Centra. Centra, live every day.
Terman and Gweedore will contest the Donegal Under-21A football final this Saturday. Join us online at highlandradio.com for full match commentary from the O'Donnell Park in Letterkenny. Throw-in time 1 p.m. Highlands coverage of the Donegal Under-21 football final is in association with O'Donnell Fuels Crawley and Illistrin. Warm up for the match at o'donnellfuels.ie.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
There's never been a better time to go full Lidl. Let's hear it from our customers.
I'd say you don't know what you're missing until you do it, and you really will see the choice, the selection, the value for money. You know, you don't know until you try, so priority, get down to Lidl and get your shop done.
Go on, go full Lidl today.
Is your car or van winter ready? Get your free winter check now at Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny. It includes checking your lights, wipers and coolant. Also, the most common cause of winter breakdowns, your battery. And what you depend on most to keep you safe on the road, your tyres, where the tread depth should be at least 1.6 millimetres. Hegarty's will check all these and more to keep you motoring safely through the winter and beyond. Get winter ready by contacting Hegarty's Ford in Letterkenny today.
At Ulster Bank, our team is continuing to close current and deposit accounts, along with some of our branches. At this time, if your notice period and your deadline has passed, your account is now queued for closure. All personal and business account deadlines are fast approaching. You must take urgent action. If you are still relying on your bank account and in need of more support, please contact us immediately. Visit ulsterbank.ie, your local branch, or call 0818 210 260. Call costs may vary and calls from mobiles may not be free. Ulster Bank Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Discover your dream Donegal wedding by choosing Jackson's or Villa Rose Hotel for your wedding day. Exuding elegance, quality and a wealth of experience in executing the perfect wedding reception, Jackson's or Villa Rose is the venue for you. Come along to Jackson's Hotel and the Villa Rose Hotel on Sunday, January 22nd and view their complete wedding offering as they present their biggest wedding venue showcase of the year. To find out more, visit gallangroup.com.
Are you a Leaving Cert student that is looking at your options for 2023?
Or are you interested in upskilling and progressing in your career with a postgraduate degree or Springboard funded course?
Come along to A2 Donegal's open evening on Wednesday, 18th of January from 4 to 7 p.m. in our Letterkenny campus.
Talk to us about our part-time, flexible postgraduate programs and find out all you need to know about eligibility and funding available through Springboard.
And learn more about our 20 brand new CEO programs that will be available this year.
A2 Donegal's open evening, Wednesday, 18th of January from 4 to 7 p.m.
See you there.
Text or WhatsApp your view to Greg on 086 60 25,000.
Okay, thank you so much for staying with us. We're well into the last hour of the show here now. That song was lovely, says a listener. The young man sounded like George Ezra. It brightened my morning. That's good. I actually, with respect to Mr. Ezra, preferred his vocals there. Delighted to hear the councillor raising this issue. I waited on a council house for 12 years and was delighted with our home, but one of my neighbours didn't like living in the place and basically pulled the curtains and left the house empty for years. She paid the rent but never stayed there. It's such a crying shame and a waste. Another, how can I report someone who's renting their council house while living in the north? Where are you? Asks, was he at the meeting on wind farms? He's not here, so I can't. Ask me, Hull, is there not a council policy that any house which has been rented cannot be left vacant for more than 6 weeks at a time without notifying the council? I'm sure there is, but the problem is that there are rules and regs there, but the whole conversation really was about people not respecting them. The effect of the killing of Aisling Murphy on Irish society has lasted, says the head of the Dublin Rape Crisis Centre. Tomorrow marks the first anniversary of the death of the... In fact, it is today, isn't it? Today marks the first anniversary of the death of the primary school teacher in County Offaly, which shocked the country. The Justice Minister said tackling gender-based violence is a priority for the government. And... I'm interested to speak to Dr. Marie Hainsworth, manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Services, on this. Dr. Marie, my emotions are somewhat mixed on this, in that it's still happening, and it happens. And of course, there was, and rightly so, a massive reaction to the awful killing of Aisling Murphy. But then subsequently, there's been other women that have been killed, and the spotlight's not shone quite as bright. So, while some people believe that maybe we have moved forward in this issue, for me, it feels like we're treading water to some extent. Marie, I don't know what your views are, but I'm very interested in them.
Yeah, morning, Greg, and thanks for looking at the issue. It's never going to be fixed overnight. That's definitely one thing, and I do agree with that. And we've always, Ireland currently has, I think it's one woman a month murdered through domestic circumstances. And Aisling's case was slightly different in that it wasn't a domestic case in that sense. But the reality is, when we're looking at safety, the government did step in, but it's full of this. It does react to stuff and it makes a lot of promises. and it likes, it's kind of like it likes a shiny cover of a book, but it doesn't necessarily fill that book with anything. And that's where we're at the moment. We've been made a lot of promises about increased funding to the sector, restructuring the organisation. The DSGBV unit, which looks at these issues, is currently under TUSLA. This has been moved into justice. But the reality is it hasn't moved into justice yet, and it's been downsized within TUSLA. There's been no additional resources. Staff have left. They've not been replaced. So actually, at this moment in time, the resources and kind of oversight of this work is actually less now than it was a year ago. And I know it's in an interim place, and I know it's in a process of transition, but it's at a very difficult place. And it could quite easily fall off the radar when we've got all the other issues that government's focusing on. It's looking at hospitals, it's looking at the housing crisis. And it is at a point where we really do need to make sure this doesn't drop off politicians' agendas.
Yeah, and to some extent, those issues you mentioned are also, there's a crossover. There's an interlinking there as well. You see, I do express my frustration about the press sometimes because, and this is, I'm not attributing, asking you to comment on this at all, Mary, but for sometimes, to me, the media is just feeling more and more like an arm of the government, in that the Justice Minister says tackling gender violence is a priority for the government. She says things are going to change, but we need to see how, when, targets, are those targets being met? If not, why? We don't need ministers for observation. What we need is action that actually improves things. And as if you've outlined, there's a strong argument to say that things have actually disimproved. And I think it's really important, whether they want a job in future with the government or not, that these journalists begin to start probing politicians and getting exact answers that they can be held to record on.
Yeah, and the other way they can do that, I suppose, is to do that investigative journalist piece where they actually talk to the services on the ground, because it's no good, yes, the government can make promises, and, if you went to offices now and spoke to them, they will come back with the same rhetoric of this is what's in place, this is what we've allocated, so much money. Like, so much money has been allocated, and that was announced at the beginning of December, and we all had to put in applications and look for it, and we were told by, mid-December that we would be told whether we've got that funding. Well, this is a month later. We still haven't been told. We still don't know what our annual budget is for this year. We still haven't signed any service level agreement or anything because nobody knows what the figures are. So, there is a danger that it's kind of slipping, and lots of promises, lots of media hype, but it does need the media to follow up with services and make sure that the other side of that story is being validated. If this is what government's saying, where is that happening on the ground? Can you talk to services that can prove that? And that's the piece that I think that's missing with the media.
Yeah, and whilst we talk about the awful deaths of women, one a month, as you mentioned, and as you quite rightly pointed out, the Aisling Murphy death was not necessarily, it wasn't a domestic violence incident. This domestic violence is happening all the time, and there are cases where it leads up to that. So it's to, of course, eliminate as much as we possibly can instances of domestic violence, give people a pathway out of it, make sure that people who are responsible for it are held to account, are heavily punished, so there's a deterrent there. We need to sort of deal with everything that eventually, very sadly, leads to the loss of a life.
It is, and one of the other areas is we need to put in support for perpetrators, and there are perpetrator programs in the country, but there are none in Donegal and the Northwest. And we've been lobbying, Sligo would be the nearest one, and we've been lobbying for that for a number of years now, and Justice has always come back to us saying, well, we're doing a review of the programme. When we've completed the review, we'll get back to you. Now, that review has been undertaken now for, I would say, 3 or 4 years. It's still being undertaken. So there's still nobody willing to make a decision about whether Donegal deserves to have a perpetrator programme, even though our probation services up here could fill that programme, seeing that, overnight with the number of clients they have. So, we have the infrastructure. We've raised the issue nationally, and for 3 or 4 years now, we're just being fobbed off. So, there isn't that kind of willingness to follow through completely. Like, government likes reports and it likes kind of conducting surveys. It doesn't like following through and actually implementing any action afterwards. And this is the bit I'm a bit worried about. Lots of promises, but not a lot following through at this moment in time.
So just to recap then, to finish on, Dr. Marie, in terms of Donegal Domestic Violence Services, we are halfway through the first month of this year. Just outline where you're at in terms of resources, what information you have about what resources will be available, what's been promised to you for 2023, or when you might hear of what will be available to you in 2023. So you can give us sort of an idea of where we're at from a Donegal Domestic Violence Services perspective.
Well, from a core funding point of view, we are assuming we will get the same funding we got last year. So, our core services are not affected. But we have a proposal in with Chisla to expand our accommodation and to work, using more innovative ways of getting accommodation. Because, like you said, the key thing about ensuring people's safety is that they have somewhere to move on to. And with a housing crisis, that isn't necessarily available. So, but we don't know. We were told before Christmas whether we'd got that funding. We've also got an allocation in there looking for someone specifically to work as a housing officer. We would like to know that we can go ahead and recruit for that. But they're the things that are kind of stalled now. These are key aspects of the work that we need to expand the service. Because the numbers are not going down. The numbers have not gone down since COVID started. So it's not like there's a lull here or we can just continue as we are. We're just going to meet this challenge more and more.
Dr. Marie Hainsworth, as always, thank you so much indeed. Dr. Marie's manager of the Donegal Domestic Violence Services, 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number. Greg, what has happened to the man who was arrested for the murder of Aisling Murphy? Why does it take so long for these trials to happen? Well, there's a couple of things. The reason why, I would say one of them is the fact that to investigate any crime, especially where there's a loss of life, Gardaí and investigators have to exhaust every possibility. You have to imagine, say, for instance, let's talk about any particular case, just on the most basic level. You will have a defence lawyer or team of lawyers, for example, that their mission is to protect the liberty of their client. So they will try and find any flaws, any loopholes, any gaps in any investigation. So you can imagine then that the Gardaí have to take the time that's required to ensure that any gaps that are there that are plugged, that any evidence that is there that is gathered, it's backed up, that they have experts that can back that up. When you start thinking on it a little bit like that, you can see how the wheels can turn quite slowly. You could also have someone who's might make a defence of them not being them having poor mental health, for example. That could delay things even more so because different experts would have to be brought in and all. So, I mean, I can see how these things take time. As I say, some of those examples I gave are not relating to that case at all. It's just to give some examples. I had numerous instances of where I received adverts related to simple conversations with others. The alternator in my car packed in, and before I could take it to a mechanic, I was getting ads for car spare parts. More recently, a passing bird dropped a bomb on my son's head. We jokingly remarked that he should do the lottery. That evening, he got several ads promoting the National Lottery. The number of times this happens puts it outside the scope of coincidence. All right, okay. That is on a light-hearted note. Let's stay with that for a moment. Hi, Greg. You're 100% correct regarding the phone listening or analysing calls. I also had a conversation with someone about something I had never Googled or talked about before. And within a few hours, I had ads on Facebook regarding exactly what I was talking about. All I kept thinking was, how did that happen? Now, for people who believe it happens, they can't be convinced otherwise. For other people, particularly I think those maybe that work in technology and believe it's not happening, they think we're crazy. The Ballabafay potholes a text in about yesterday were filled in the afternoon. This time a roller was used. It'll be interesting to see how long fillings last. Pothole repair is not rocket science. Well done to the council and the council workers for getting on that as quickly as they did. And let's hope the use of the roller is helpful there. It was explained last night because of the change in the Irish Prime Minister since Christmas that it would have been inappropriate to meet Mary Lou McDonald of the opposition party before they had got to meet Leo, so not a snub. That comes in from Derek. Our government is going to allow a British company come here to buy up acres of land for planting trees. Yeah, indeed. We discussed that with Minister Charlie McConnell, although I didn't really get it on the record from him. And you know, sometimes you try and ask questions, right? And sometimes the non-answer is the answer in and of itself. But if you don't ask the questions, you don't know. Ask the questions a couple of times. Was he opposed to companies coming in? He says, well, we'll discuss this with Culture. Hello, I've contacted the ESB several times to get lights fixed on the main Derry to Buncrana Road at Fawn outside the Red Door Bar and Restaurant. Very dark stretch of busy road and 3 street lights are out for over 15 months. See attached on the DCC website that 2 of these are noted. Do you know who could fix these, please, or who could get these sorted? We will follow that up for you, Mary. Greg, what are your thoughts on zebra crossings in Ballybofey? It's a disaster waiting to happen with the dark weather. Why have enough traffic light? Why we have enough traffic light crossings? Well, there's no lights on them. That's the problem. I said on the day they were installed, I had a problem with them, especially on dark, wet nights as you're approaching them and someone steps out and they happen to be in the black section. There's no lights on them. This was supposed to be some sort of a test to see how they work. Clearly, they like how they're working. I don't like them at all. I said from the beginning that I thought they presented an unnecessary danger there. I'm tired saying your phone is like Big Brother, listening to everything you say. It freaks me out at times, says another caller there. Raymond says, I could not have written a poem anywhere as good as ChatGPT. Can we now possibly get ChatGPT to take over the running of the Dublin government, since ChatGPT is more intelligent and creative than any other humans in government? Think of the billions of euros we could save. Hey, I'm gone before the government's gone. It's only a matter of time, if it's not already happening, that AI will be doing links on radio in between music. Hi, Greg. Just wondering what has happened to the 10:30 song. Well, what do you think? We can bring... Did you type that, Caroline? We can bring it back if you want. No problem. Let us know. Maybe you prefer to keep the flow of the show going. Maybe you like that little interlude at 10:30. We're a democracy here. You know, if Elon Musk can run polls, we can run polls too. Do you want the 10:30 track back? 086 60 25,000, or are you happy with the way things are right now? Well done, Margaret Rose and Micheál Collum. We appreciate all the hard work that has gone into saving our service. As we know, it was never the intention to close the service, but restructure, which would have lost our weekly groups, which we need. Thanks to Tusa and Freuga for listening to our voice. Yeah, as long as it wasn't a case that they had to be dragged to the table on that issue. Right. Let us take a break. Back in a moment.
Your next move matters, so why not move better? Start your move to permanent TSB today. Apply in-app for our award-winning current account. So don't just move bank, move better. Apply in-app today. Applications for Explore Current Account in-app for over 18 personal customers. Qualifying criteria, fees and charges, terms and conditions apply. Awarded bonkers.ie Best Current Account 2022. Permanent TSB PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Minister does U-turn on suckler payments. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
There will be no compensation for getting out of sucklers, but dairy exit scheme on the table. Furious Quilcha buys over 1,000 acres as part of controversial Gresham House joint venture. Knackeries threaten strike action in payment row. We analyse how the new cap impacts on entitlements and land leasing. Plus, don't miss our top tax-saving tips for your farm and family.
Only inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
If you're tired and struggling to put a spring in your step, discover the power of Revive Active at your local Brennan's Pharmacy. Revive Active is an award-winning super supplement containing 26 active ingredients, including vitamin C, D and zinc, which support your immune system, all in one handy daily sachet. Made for busy, stressful lives, it's a convenient way to put back what life takes out. Enrich your life with Revive Active. In-store or online, click and collect from brennanspharmacy.com. We're here for you.
Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. We match Aldi on the products you love, like Super Value Medium Red Cheddar Block, $1.69. Super Value Family Toilet Tissue 9 Roll, $2.29. 2. Get hundreds of better than half price special offers. And 3. Money off vouchers every week on the app. Super Value makes saving money as easy as 1, 2, 3.
Highland Radio weather updates with Ireland West Airport. Discover Edinburgh this summer with Ryanair's 3 times weekly service. Stunning architecture, endless winding streets and an awe-inspiring castle. Ireland West Airport. Don't just take off, take it easy.
Okie doke, let's have a look at the weather forecast for you. As you know, there's a moderate rain warning, but let's actually just see what the weather forecast itself says this time. Westerly winds will be very strong and gusty today. There'll be a mix of sunny spells and showers, frequent and with a chance of isolated thunderstorms and hail. Afternoon temperatures of 7 or 8 degrees. Okay. Right, Sinead joins us on the programme now. Good morning, Sinead.
Morning, Greg.
Right, okay. I mean, you presumably, obviously, you're familiar with this phrase, single unvetted males. Normally the way I hear it is single unvetted males of fighting age. That seems to be a sentence that's used quite regularly. You're calling it out, are you, or what's your view?
Well, all I'm really saying is I would like to know where people are getting this information. So are they getting it on a post on Facebook that these men are single men? Or are they actually getting the information directly from a reliable source? From what I can only go by what I've been, from speaking to asylum seekers themselves. What they will tell me is that a lot of these men, they're not actually single men. They are actually fathers and husbands. It costs an awful lot of money for them to try and even make the journey to try and get asylum. So what normally happens is the man, the husband or the father, is chosen from that family as A, being the person most likely to survive the journey, and B, they want to see if it's safe for their families because think about it logically. They're not going to send their kids off on their own,
Mm-hmm.
Even though you may want to get the people that you want to get out the most is the kids.
Let me put it to you then, though. So say, for instance, you're living in Dublin or some other urban area and a coach pulls up, right, and, 30 guys get off the bus on their own, whether they're single or not. I don't even know what that means. We don't even know anything about them, whether sexual orientation or what, and nothing. It doesn't, you know what I mean? So I don't really to prejudge all that. But though, that being said, and they walk into a hotel in a particular area that's probably already got under pressure for housing, under pressure for school places, though that might not be relevant in this case at this time, but maybe also the local hospital or the local GP. There's no consultation with the local people. This is not discussed, right? And then, of course, right, there are elements that will suggest that this is going to be a danger to women. Now, there's not a great deal of evidence to support that. But can you forget the people then that they have an agenda that come into an area to try and stir things up? You could understand, could you not, that local people might go, well, where's our accommodation? Where's our house? Why can't we see a doctor? Why won't we ask if this particular area can take another 30 men? Can you understand then how locals would be concerned about that?
I completely understand that, people would be concerned about the volume of people increasing in the area, especially given the really the pressures on both the health system and the housing. Absolutely, I do. But my objection is to this is essentially people believing the stuff that they're reading on the internet. I mean, if you're following it, and I follow it quite a bit, and I have friends who work in the fields and watching what goes on and where these things are coming from. This single unvetted male phrase just really rankles me because people are not thinking and they're repeating it. They're just seeing it on Facebook, seeing it on Twitter.
My son is a single unvetted male.
Exactly. My son's a single unvetted male. He moved over. He's left the country, and there was no big hue and cry about him moving over. I don't know. Is it because he's because of his skin colour?
Well, do you think then that the genuine concerns of locals, which should be addressed by those that are elected to make these decisions, are being weaponised then by people with because you see, I think the left or whatever, I don't really get into this left-right stuff, but those that are labelling anyone who has an objection to this as far right, you see, I don't think that helps at all either, because it means we can't have a civilised conversation. So people, if you have one view, you're a left liberal. If you have another view, you're far right, with all the connotations that goes with that label. I think people have right across the political spectrum need to, maybe as much as they can, either disengage with those labels or actually only use them when they are specifically appropriate. And I think you would know maybe some of the cases or individuals that I might be talking about.
Very, very much so. And this is the thing. So in a lot of those protests, and I know, so for instance, the one in East Wall, there was a man who was being interviewed by RTE, for example. And he was on and being labelled as a concerned resident, as a resident of the area. What wasn't said was that he was a member of the far-right party. and he wasn't doing that. So he was getting this all drummed up. He was bringing in his far right party members
But if he's a,
to get everybody whipped up.
But he's also is a member of the local community, though, and
he is.
Yeah.
But
okay.
I don't think that is, it should be complete. If you're going to talk to people, I think it should be complete. I mean, I know you make every effort to make sure that, say someone's from a political party, you will say, yeah, we're a member of a party or whatever. But what I don't, and then, you see, the thing is, if people see this as just a concerned community, if that's how someone is described, and it's not made clear that this person is a member of a far right party.
Yeah, but you can make that differentiation.
Quite racist.
Sinead, you can make that differentiation. Is it? I don't know. Anyway, you can make that. You can see the difference there. Everyone can see the difference, can't they? Do you know what I mean? I think
they can.
I think most people
if it's given the information.
Yeah, but I think most people can work out the difference between concerned residents, and we've always tried to give on this programme a space where someone could come on and say, look, I'm a bit worried about what's happening in my area because we don't have the services for all these people coming in. And they're not racist, they're not far right, they're not nothing. They're just saying, they've got their own children.
Yes.
I just think this division, this divisive politics where we call each other different things, and I'm not accusing you of this, Sinead, we're getting nowhere with it. We're just literally getting nowhere with it.
I would agree with that much. And I mean, what you say, ordinary people who are just there talking about, the concern about the pressure on the health system, especially now with all the stuff that's going on around Micah and people are homeless. I absolutely 100% you cannot say a bad word because people are concerned about their families, their children, and they're looking at them. But the focus is wrong. The focus shouldn't be on the people who are coming in. The focus should be on the people in government who have let us down for decades, years.
I worked in a part of London in my late teens, early 20s. I can't remember what it was. And and people over here think I've got an English accent. I worked over there a couple of years, but over there I had an Irish accent. And it was in a particular bar that I worked in because I worked in pubs. And I was called names. And one evening I was walking home and I was chased through a park by a group of guys. And the motivation was because I was Irish and maybe because I was white. I don't know. I'm not going to talk to that. I really don't know. And then there was shouting outside the complex. Now, I hadn't engaged with anyone. I was very naive, very shy. I hadn't rubbed up anyone in the hard way. But I'll tell you one thing. It was scary. It was intimidating. It was horrible. And very, very soon thereafter, I moved home because I couldn't take it.
Exactly. And
then when I hear
those
families,
people who are there, they have no choice.
And then
they can't move home.
That's it. And then when I hear families in these, and there are kids involved as well, and there's Irish people, what we've went through elsewhere, shouting "Go home" or "Get them out" or "Send them home." That's not who we are. We were the victims of that in the past.
Yes.
That's not who we are, and I don't think it's representative of us as a society either. I really don't.
No, and I don't think so either. And I completely, what I'm asking for is that people stop and think before when they read something on Facebook, when they read something on Twitter, just stop and think. Where is this actually coming from? Is this accurate? Is this factual? Because there are poor people and there are children in those places where, and just going by reports, there are very, very horrible things being said. And they're small kids who come through, and women as well. And even the men. I mean, I don't care who you are, man, woman, or a child. There's bound to be trauma there. And you arrive into a country after trying to seek asylum from a war zone, what is effectively a war zone, or threats to your life.
And you gave the example.
And people stand outside chanting.
Yeah, but you gave the example then of the effort, say, someone from Syria has to do to come here to try and really get a better life for their family, right? But there are individuals that can't get into England anymore, right? Economic migrants, and the government accepts this as well, by the way, that rip up their documentation on their way here. They can board a flight with documentation, but they rip it up because they think they've got a better chance of staying here.
Yeah.
The state does need to, and I think Neil Varadkar committed to it last night, tidy this whole area up so the public discourse will be easier then. And again, that is the role of government. It's not shouting at a refugee won't change that. But this is a lot of this is government policy and inaction that's led us to where we're at.
Precisely, and this is exactly what I'm saying. The target is wrong. The target shouldn't be the people who are coming, and even those, as we term them, economic migrants. We're a nation of economic migrants, you know. I mean, how many people do we know who've gone to America and just stayed for, you know, after a holiday and stayed there illegally? We are a nation of economic migrants.
Well, in relation to that, there are more Irish people living in Australia. Sorry, there's less Irish people more Irish people living in Australia than there are homeless people in Australia, right? So someone in Australia could say, "Oh, well, get the Irish out and house the Australians." They could. Now, someone could say to me, but the Irish are over there working, and it's different because that's not what it's like in Ireland. Over 10,000 Ukrainian refugees are now working in Ireland, many working in the care system, in the health service system, filling employment gaps. So it is kind of the same. And more of them are going to work. I just think we need to remember our history, what we're doing right now, all those. Remember that there's 55,000 undocumented Irish in America that can't come home because they won't be able to get back into America because they don't have the proper documentation. So we need to remember where we're at, where we've come from, but also call on the government to where there are genuine problems and concerns for them to be addressed. Are, for instance, migrants being put into rich areas of Dublin, or is it only areas where there are particular issues with housing and what have you, or people have less disposable income? You know, this also does have to be discussed, Sinead, doesn't it, for complete equity and fairness?
I think everything needs to be on the table, but it does need to be done with the correct people. I mean, what needs to happen is that this all has to go to our public reps. That's where it should be going. They're the people who are elected, who we elected to represent us and our views in the Dáil. Standing outside and weaponising much-loved songs to turn them into racists, meaning outside of accommodations where there are men, women and children and they're listening to that is not the way to go. I mean, you know, you're talking about people working from Ireland and countries all over the world. The asylum seekers here are not allowed to work. Maybe that's something that should be.
They are after 6 months.
Should be able to.
I think after 6 months now they are. But I do take your point.
Those steps need to be addressed.
I mean, if listen, and I get it. I don't. I think I can think from all different ways, which I'm sure you can as well. But my word, if everyone who didn't look like Ireland looked like 30 years ago, let me put it like that, went home, our health service would be destroyed. Our care service, it would just be, this country would be in an awful lot of bother, and there aren't enough Irish away to come back to fill those gaps either, by the way. And some people choose to go to experience life in a different way. And a phrase that
I don't want to come back either, Greg.
Well, of course, because it's not a place for them to come back. It's just really important that we all actually think for ourselves, that we all that we get our information from different sources, because everyone, regardless of what, could bandy the sheeple view around, you know, and none of us want to be sheeple. We want to think for ourselves and make our own decisions to make sure that we're not cannon fodder for other people or whatever. You know, everyone should think for themselves, do the research, get their own stats.
Yeah, that's my concern. And it's not to say, and I want to be very clear about this, I'm not here saying that, you know, everyone who says anything about the situation with, you know, concerns about anybody coming into the area is a member, you know, is far right or a member of a far right group. But what I'm clearly saying is there are instigators in those communities. There are instigators online, and they are very much far right actors. And just be careful who you're listening to and what you're reading and sharing, because what you're doing is you're giving them power to just giving them power. Just think for yourself. Stop. Is this good? And ask yourself, is this factual? Where is it coming from?
All right, Sinead. Yeah, I get you.
That's just my concern. It's always been my concern about the far right growth in Ireland, anywhere in the world,
or far left, or far anything, anything that's in any way extreme in any particular direction. But people will make up their own minds. And Sinead, thanks for your time. 086 60 25,000. WhatsApps and texts to that number. Call 07491 25,000. A caller says that lady makes some very good points about the male travelling alone in the hopes of getting their family out. Why I hadn't heard before, which is what debate is all about. However, you only have to see what happened in Sweden and Germany to see what quite a lot of males do. I have family in Germany and their lives have completely changed since the influx of immigrants to their area. So definitely I think locals have a right to have their say without name calling. But was that an immigration policy or was that the same as what we're seeing here right now? Anyway, listen. That's where we have to leave it on the programme today. Michaela Clark is in around the Northwest after the news at 12. But for me, Greg Hughes and the team, enjoy the rest of your Thursday. Have a good one.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by Finn Valley AC team leader, Patsy McGonigal. So join me, Kieran O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering Level 9 Executive Masters in Leadership and Innovation for private and public sector managers starting in January. Take the next step in your career and call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
Fantastic